I've been having the same dream for half a month now. Every night, I see a gray, dusty world, low houses, simple clothes, but people with bright eyes. It looks like something from an old documentary. My name is Yuzhu. I'm an orphan with a weak body. There's always a tight feeling in my chest, and I get out of breath easily. Doctors could never find anything wrong. They just said I was born weak. Because of that, no one wanted to adopt me. Other kids got picked at 3 or 4 years old. I waited until I was 8, when my foster father finally took me home. He was a kind man, a small businessman in his 50s who never married. He treated me like his own daughter, hired people to take care of me, and sent me to school. Last year, when I turned 20, he passed away. He left me 10 million yuan, a big apartment, and a jade pendant, a family heirloom. Half a month ago, I accidentally dripped blood on that pendant. That's when a hidden space appeared inside it, a storage room as big as a football field, surrounded by white fog. Both my body and my mind can enter it. Then the dream started. A few days ago, I noticed something new on the wall of the storage room, a countdown timer. It read, 3 days remaining. That's when I understood. I was going to travel back in time, into that poor, hungry world from my dreams. But at least I had 3 days to prepare. On the first day, I drove to the biggest wholesale market in the city. I bought 500 bags of rice, 500 bags of flour, hundreds of barrels of cooking oil, dried beans, spices, sugar, salt, and every kind of dried food I could think of. Then I hit the snack aisle, chips, chocolate, instant noodles, canned meat, canned fruit, dozens of boxes of everything I liked. I stocked up on toiletries too, hundreds of boxes of tissues, soap, shampoo, skincare products, and warm clothes. In the afternoon, I went to the fresh market. I bought 100 whole pigs, hundreds of pounds of beef, chicken, duck, lamb, eggs, seafood, and lard. That evening, I told my housekeeper, Annie Chen, that I was going abroad to study. I paid her wages, gave her extra money, and said goodbye. That night, I dreamed again. This time I saw a little girl who looked exactly like me, born into a loving family, growing up surrounded by warmth. I stood there watching, filled with envy. On the second day, I drove to the warehouse my foster father owned outside the city. All the goods I'd ordered had been delivered there. I sent the old watchman home with his pay and a bonus, then locked the door. With a wave of my hand, everything went into my space. After that, I rented a truck and went to the fabric market. I bought cotton, wool yarn, old-style bedding, padded coats, military overcoats, gloves, socks, cloth shoes, iron pots, knives, bowls, enamel cups, and thermoses. On the third day, I drove around to every big pharmacy in the city and bought cold medicine, fever pills, antibiotics, vitamins, bandages, and disinfectant. Then I went to the fruit and vegetable market and bought 10 truckloads of fresh produce. I spent whatever time I had left on cakes, milk tea, pizza, burgers, all my favorite foods. I went to my university and filed for a leave of absence. When I got home that night, I packed everything in the apartment into my space, except the bed I needed to sleep on. The timer on the wall now read, 9 hours remaining. I changed into my pajamas. My heart was strangely calm. I lay down, closed my eyes, and waited quietly for the moment to come. Yuzhu, Yuzhu, wake up. You'll be late. I opened my eyes and saw an old-fashioned mosquito net above me. This wasn't my apartment. I had really traveled back in time. The first thing I did was check. Yes, my storage space had come with me. I let out a huge breath of relief. Then I noticed something else. I pressed my hand against my chest. The tightness, that suffocating feeling I'd lived with for 20 years, it was gone. I took a deep breath, and air flowed in easily. For the first time in my life, I had a healthy body. I got dressed in a green jacket and black pants from the old wardrobe, then opened the door. A woman immediately handed me a toothbrush with paste already on it. Hurry, brush your teeth and eat breakfast. I looked at her face, and the word came out naturally, Mama. She was beautiful, with short neat hair and a worn Lenin-style jacket. She touched my braids gently and told me to go wash up. The year was 1970, September 15th. I was in China. This body had the same name as mine, Yuzhu, but she was 17, fresh out of high school. And today was the day she was supposed to leave for the countryside. Memories flooded into my mind as I brushed my teeth. I learned everything about this girl's life, her family, and why she was being sent away. At breakfast, my father sat across from me, a refined man in his 40s wearing a Zhongshan suit and glasses. He placed a bowl of porridge in front of me. My mother brought out meat buns he'd gone out early to buy for me. "Thank you, Papa," I said, smiling at him. Strange. Even though I'd only seen them in dreams, I felt no awkwardness at all. It was as if they'd always been my parents. While I ate, my mother warned me about life in the countryside. She told me not to work too hard, that they'd send me packages and money regularly. And she told me to stay away from a girl named Song Xiufang. Whatever Song Xiufang asks for, money, food stamps, anything, don't give her a thing, the old Yuzhu would have argued back, defended Song Xiufang. But I had all the original girl's memories now. I understood exactly what had happened. This family had already arranged a job for me. I was supposed to start working in October. But Song Xiufang had tricked me into volunteering to go to the countryside instead. She did it on purpose. She knew my family would load me up with money and supplies, and once we were in the village together, she could sweet-talk me into sharing everything. When my parents found out, they were furious. They tried to get me a medical exemption, but before they could, someone reported the family anonymously. My father had just been promoted to deputy director of a machinery factory, and his enemies seized the chance. They accused our family of avoiding labor and having backward thinking. If the accusation stuck, it would hurt not just my father, but also my older brother in the military and my uncle. So in the end, the family decided I had to go. They'd take care of me from a distance and find a way to bring me back later. After breakfast, my older sister Yiyuchi and her husband Su Rinzhou arrived. They'd taken the day off work to see me off at the train station. My sister pulled me into my room and pressed money into my hands, 8 crisp 10 yuan bills and 20 yuan in smaller change, plus national grain coupons and meat coupons. "Buy yourself good food," she said. "The countryside is tough." She stroked my head and sighed. "Take care of yourself. Stop being so naive." From the memories, I knew that the original Yuzhu had been clever as a child, but after a serious illness at age 10, she became too trusting, easy to fool. I looked my sister in the eye. I know what kind of person Song Xiufang is now. She's the one who got me into this mess. I won't have anything to do with her anymore. I won't share my money or my food with her. My sister stared at me, surprised. She could see something had changed, like the smart little sister she remembered from childhood had come back. She squeezed my hand, her eyes turning red. "If you really understand now, then we can worry a little less." I squeezed back. "I'm grown up now, Jia. I'll take care of myself. I'll write to you often." My luggage wasn't much, 1 big suitcase and a large bundle. I also had a shoulder bag and a water bottle. Mama was worried I wouldn't be able to carry too many things, so she only packed the essentials. They'd send the rest later. When we left the house, my family carried everything for me. I walked with empty hands. On the way to the bus stop, we ran into Song Xiufang. I glanced away and pretended I didn't see her. She came over dragging 2 heavy bags, all smiles and sweetness. "Yuzhu, how wonderful. We get to go to the countryside together. Don't worry, I'll take care of you there." Mama and my sister's faces went cold. My sister looked like her eyes would roll right out of her head. They were watching me, waiting to see how I'd react. I didn't give Song Xiufang a single look. I stepped between Mama and my sister, linked my arms through theirs, and started chatting with them softly as we walked. I left Song Xiufang standing there alone. Mama and my sister both relaxed. We got on the bus first. Behind us, I caught a glimpse of Song Xiufang's father glaring at her with angry eyes, then immediately switching to a flattering smile when my father walked past. "Director Yi, take care," he called out. The man had 2 faces. The train station was packed. Today was the day Shanghai's educated youth were being sent to the countryside. Everywhere I looked, young people carried suitcases and bedrolls. Some had bright, eager faces. Others looked miserable. I touched my own cheek and wondered what my expression looked like. "Yuzhu, let's go," Mama called. I smiled. I was happy, actually. I had a father, a mother, a brother, a sister now. Real family. Going to the countryside was something I had no choice about, but I had my storage space full of supplies. I'd be fine. My brother-in-law, Su Rinzhou, found me a window seat on the train and stowed my suitcase underneath. Then he went to find a friend of his who worked as a train attendant on this very line. He'd already asked this friend to look after me during the journey, buying me meals and helping with my luggage when I got off. The friend's name was Liang Wei. He came over in his uniform, shook my father's hand, and promised to help. When he glanced at me, I caught a flash of surprise in his eyes. I smiled politely and nodded. Having someone I could count on during the trip made me feel safer. Then it was time to say goodbye. I held Mama's and my sister's hands, my eyes turning red. Mama, Jia, Papa, I don't want to leave you. Their eyes filled with tears too. Mama started repeating all her instructions from last night one more time. Write letters. Call when you can. Tell us if you need anything, we'll send it. I nodded, sniffling. Then a snot bubble popped out of my nose. My sister quickly wiped my face with her handkerchief. Stop crying. Everyone's watching. I slapped my hands over my face. How embarrassing. Everyone burst out laughing, and the sadness lifted a little. The whistle blew. The wheels began to grind against the tracks. My family walked alongside the moving train, calling out to me, "Take care of yourself. Write to us." "I will," I said, my voice thick and stuffy. The train picked up speed. Their figures grew smaller and smaller until I couldn't hear their voices anymore. Song Xiufang had gotten on the train too, struggling with her bags by herself. She'd wanted to sit next to me, but she boarded too late and all the seats around me were taken. She had to find a spot somewhere else. I leaned against the window, eyes closed, letting the sadness settle. After a while, I felt a little better. Then I sent a thread of my mind into the storage space. This morning, I'd only checked it quickly. Now I wanted to look through everything carefully. When I checked my storage space, I got the shock of my life. My entire apartment had come with me, the whole floor, transported right into the space alongside the warehouse full of supplies. Everything was exactly where it had been. The water and electricity worked. My phone still functioned, though the clock on it had stopped. The TV, the tablet, all usable. I almost laughed out loud. This meant that whenever no one was watching, I could slip into my old home. That apartment was full of happy memories with my foster father. Knowing it had followed me here made everything feel less scary. I opened my eyes and stretched, gazing out the train window. The car was noisy. Most passengers were young people heading to the countryside, singing and chatting, excited about their new lives. I didn't join in. I'd seen enough documentaries to know rural life wasn't as rosy as they imagined. But I had my space. At lunchtime, everyone pulled out food from their bags. I opened mine and found 5 boiled eggs for apples and handfuls of candy, milk candies and fruit drops. Since it was hot, I started peeling an egg before they went bad. That's when Liang Wei appeared in his uniform, carrying a lunchbox. "Comrade," he called out. Every head in the car turned to look. I stood up quickly and thanked him. Inside the box was white rice, stir-fried potato shreds, and green pepper with pork. The smell filled the entire car. I gave him an egg as thanks, and he left with a smile. As I sat down to eat, I heard a loud swallowing sound beside me. I turned and saw a pretty girl gnawing on a plain flatbread, her face turning bright red when she realized I'd heard her. I hid my smile and went back to eating. I could feel the mood in the car shifting. When I'd stood up earlier, people had gotten a clear look at my face. In a time when most people were thin and sallow, my fair skin and round cheeks stood out. Add in the train attendant delivering me a hot meal with a friendly smile, and everyone started whispering. Some of the male-educated youth were already scheming, hoping they'd be assigned to the same village as me. Farther back, Song Xiufang was chewing on a dark flour biscuit, breathing in the smell of my food with resentment. She was angry at my family for not helping her with her luggage, which would have let her sit beside me and share my meal. She looked around at the other passengers with contempt, not a single person eating white bread. After I finished, I wiped my mouth and sipped the warm brown sugar water from my thermos. perfectly satisfied. Then a thin hand appeared in front of me, holding a fruit candy. It was the girl from before. "Hi, would you like some candy?" she asked quietly, face still pink. I smiled and took it, then pulled a milk candy from my bag and offered it to her. "Let's share." Her name was young Lily, also 17. She told me she'd actually seen me once before, a couple of years ago, when her parents brought her to visit relatives at the machinery factory compound. She'd spotted me walking arm in arm with my mother, wearing a red plaid dress and little leather shoes, laughing brightly. She said I was the prettiest girl she'd ever seen, and never forgot me. "That's quite a connection," I said. Then we discovered something even better. We were both assigned to the same village, Dashan Village, Baishur Town, Chongha County, in Ji Province. "That's wonderful." Lily grabbed my hands, her eyes shining. She'd been so nervous about going somewhere strange all alone. Having someone she knew made her feel safer. I felt the same way. Lily seemed like a good person. I was willing to give this friendship a chance. After Liang Wei came to collect the lunchbox, some of the male-educated youth across from us tried to strike up conversation with me too. I stayed polite but kept my distance. As hours passed, the train started to smell terrible. Sweat, body odor, feet, and something that might have been chicken droppings, all mixing together and crawling into my nose. I held an apple from my bag near my face, sniffing its sweetness to block the stench. It barely helped. In the afternoon, Lily poked my arm. "Yuzhu, I need the bathroom. Wanna come?" I did, so we got up together. The male-educated youth sitting across from us, Li Jianhua, eagerly offered to watch our bags. We thanked him politely. Our valuables were on us anyway. As we walked down the aisle, Song Xiufeng spotted us and started calling my name frantically. "Yuzhu! Yuzhu!" I treated her voice like air and kept walking. She was trapped in the middle seat between two people sleeping like logs, so she couldn't even get out. Lily glanced back curiously. "Who was that? Do you know her?" "Sort of," I said flatly. "But we're not close." Lily understood immediately. "Then no need to bother with her," she said. We smiled at each other. The closer we got to the bathroom, the worse the smell became. My eyes were watering. I wanted to throw up. When Lily let me go first, I didn't argue. The moment I stepped inside, I slipped into my apartment's bathroom in the storage space. That was the only toilet I could bring myself to use. I finished quickly, came back out, and let Lily take her turn. Back in my seat, I was bored out of my mind. I couldn't exactly pull out my phone in 1970. So I closed my eyes and set my mind into the apartment, lay down on the couch and watched TV. I still hadn't finished that variety show. Lily saw my eyes closed and thought I was resting, so she took out a little red book to read. I ended up actually falling asleep and didn't wake until dinner time. Liang Wei, I was calling him Brother Liang now, appeared right on time with another lunchbox. He looked me over and seemed pleasantly surprised that I was still in good shape. I think he'd expected me to be wilting by now and had even prepared a speech about toughing it out. I opened the box. Braised pork and stir-fried cabbage. The smell hit the entire car like a wave. Braised pork. Most families couldn't afford it even once a month. The better-off passengers were eating steamed buns and dumplings. Song Xiufeng was still gnawing her dark flour biscuit. I looked around at everyone's faces and decided I didn't need to hide my family's good conditions. My parents were both factory workers and cadres. My uncle and older brother were soldiers, the most respected profession in this era. Our family's political background was clean. There was nothing wrong with living a little better within my means. Beside me, Lily was swallowing hard again. I couldn't blame her. The braised pork smelled incredible. Even the male-educated youth across from us were gulping water and stuffing plain buns in their mouths to cope. But Lily didn't ask for any. She had manners. And I didn't offer. The candy earlier was a fair exchange. She'd given me one first. But if I shared meat with her, everyone else might start asking too. That night, I used a bathroom trip as cover to slip into my apartment and wash my face and brush my teeth properly. The train rocked and rattled. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep, but I drifted off quickly. Then, in the middle of the night, a huge commotion erupted from the next car over. Catch the thief. Catch the thief. Someone help. Everyone in our car jolted awake. The whole train burst into chaos. Lily shook me gently. Yuzhu, someone in the next car got their money stolen. Is yours safe? I hugged my bag tight. Don't worry, it's all put away. The truth was, the 300 yuan from my parents and the 100 from my sister were safely inside my apartment in the storage space. I only kept about 20 yuan of spending money in my bag. Lily patted her chest in relief. If my money got stolen, I'd want to die. Her family had many children and not much money. Her parents felt guilty about sending her to the countryside, so they scraped together 100 yuan for her. A huge sum. Her mother had sewn it into her underwear before she left. Brother Liang came through with a flashlight, checking on us. Yuzhu, everything okay here? We're fine, I said.
Good.
The thief will be caught soon. Don't worry. His words calmed the whole car down. The commotion lasted over an hour. When it finally ended, I checked my watch in the dim light. 2 a.m. The watch was a gift from Mama, bought at the department store before I left. It cost nearly 200 yuan. The rest of the night was quiet. When I woke up, the train had stopped at a new station. People got off, new people got on. Everyone from our car looked exhausted. Even those eager male educated youth had gone quiet. I pulled an egg and an apple from my space for breakfast. The train rolled on, heading north. Finally, on the morning of the third day, the announcement came. We were approaching Lin City, Ji Province. I let out the deepest breath. 3 days of sitting had left my backside numb, my thighs dead, and my back almost beyond feeling. If I'd had to sit any longer, I might have fallen apart. When the train stopped, the car erupted with noise, everyone grabbing luggage. Li Jianhua offered to carry my things, but I politely told him someone was already helping. Sure enough, Brother Liang appeared, grabbed my suitcase and bundle, and led the way off the train. I helped Lily with one of her 3 big bundles and followed him out. Song Xiufang was panicking behind us. She hadn't managed to speak a single word to me the entire trip, no matter how many times she called my name. She had 3 heavy bundles of her own and desperately wanted my help. But I walked right past her. Outside the station, each county had a reception point for incoming educated youth. Brother Liang found the Changhe County spot and loaded my luggage onto the bus. Yuzhu, this is as far as I go. Take care of yourself. I gave him an apple for my bag. Brother Liang, thank you for everything. I hope we meet again. He smiled and took it. The rest of the road is yours now. Lily and I were the first ones on the bus. We grabbed a window seat and waited. Then Song Xiufang staggered aboard, hauling her 3 bundles. She saw someone sitting next to me, and something snapped in her brain. She marched straight up to Lily and ordered, "Get up. I want to sit with Yuzhu." Lily shot to her feet, not to obey, but out of sheer fury. She was half a head taller than Song Xiufang.
Who are you?
Why should I move for you? I stared at Song Xiufang in disbelief. What was she even doing? Other passengers spoke up too. She was already sitting there. You can't just kick someone out of their seat. Song Xiufang realized she'd gone too far. Her voice weakened, and she put on a pitiful face. Yuzhu and I are good friends. I just wanted to sit next to her. Nobody bought her act. I stood up and looked her straight in the face. Stop right there, Song Xiufang. We know each other, but we are not good friends. Did I speak to you even once on this entire trip? Don't say things that give people the wrong idea. And did you even ask me? I don't want to sit with you. Li Jianhua jumped in immediately. She's right. We all watched the whole journey. You never once talked to each other. Clearly you're not friends. Seems like you just saw that her family has good conditions and want to latch on. Everyone stared at Song Xiufang, her faded clothes, her patched pants, her torn bundles. She clearly didn't look like someone who'd be friends with me. Li Jianhua was probably right. I gave him a silent thumbs up in my heart. Finally, something useful out of his mouth. Song Xiufang stood there gripping the hem of her worn shirt, confused. She couldn't understand why I'd changed. Just a month ago, she could still trick me into volunteering for the countryside. 5 days ago, the old me was still promising to support each other. In her mind, she wasn't even asking for much, just a small share of my money and food, plus some to send home to her family. To her, The Yi family was rich enough that it wouldn't matter. Quiet down.
Seat.
We're leaving. The reception officer climbed aboard and shut everyone up. Song Xiufeng found a seat nearby. The person next to her clutched their bundle and scooted as far away as possible. The roads were all dirt. The bus shook so violently I thought my bones would rattle apart. After 40 minutes, people started throwing up everywhere. The smells were unbearable. I pressed my handkerchief over my nose and mouth, squeezed my eyes shut, and kept whispering to myself, "Don't look. Don't look. I'm not carsick. I'm not carsick." Lily glanced over. "What are you mumbling?" "Nothing," I said quickly. I couldn't exactly tell her I was doing mental tricks to keep from vomiting. 2 hours later, after everyone had emptied their stomachs, we reached the county town. Then we loaded onto another vehicle heading to the commune. Another hour and a half of bumpy roads. When we finally arrived at Baishur Commune, I gave up all dignity. I sat on the ground with the other girls, leaning against our luggage, waiting for assigned village leaders to come get us. I was thirsty, but I didn't dare drink from my water bottle. On the train, I'd secretly refilled it with water from the dispenser in my apartment. But I discovered that this water wasn't ordinary. It relieved fatigue and seemed to have healing properties. If someone asked me to share and noticed something different about it, that would be trouble. So I held back. The commune leaders looked at us educated youth sprawled across the ground and frowned deeply. They'd been receiving city kids for years now. These young people had education, sure, but they couldn't do farm work. It took 2 or 3 years before they could keep up with the local men. They couldn't work, but you couldn't starve them either. You had to feed them, protect them, and some of them had worse character than the illiterate villagers. Every new batch of educated youth was a headache. Soon, names were called. I heard mine and Lily's. We grabbed our things and walked over to the cadre from Dashan village, now called Xinguang Production Brigade. The brigade leader was Zhou Manchang. He'd brought his younger son, Zhou Hongwei, with a donkey cart to carry luggage. When Zhou Manchang saw Lily and me approaching, his dark face twisted with 3 parts disgust. These girls couldn't carry anything on their shoulders or lift anything with their hands. Then he got a good look at my face, and his frown deepened even further. This girl was way too pretty. Which family did she belong to? Why on earth was she sent to the countryside? This was going to be trouble. He glanced behind him and, sure enough, his son was staring at me with glazed eyes. "Load your luggage onto the cart," Zhou Manchang said gruffly. His son Zhou Hongwei snapped back to reality, face flushing red. I'll help you," he stammered. Zhou Manchang looked up at the sky. Embarrassing. We thanked him. Hongwei carefully lifted my wicker suitcase onto the cart like it was made of glass. I laughed and told him it was fine, he could handle it normally. That only made him blush harder. Our brigade had received 6 educated youth total. Besides Lily and me, there was, of course, Song Xiufeng. And 3 young men, Li Jianhua, plus 2 quiet ones named Lin Qingdong and Lu Jun. Zhou Manchang looked at the 3 boys and seemed slightly relieved. At least they looked like they could do some work. He tapped his pipe against his shoe sole twice. "Let's go." The luggage rode on the donkey cart. We walked. Donkeys were too precious to carry people. I patted my chest and thanked my lucky stars for this healthy body. The old me would have collapsed by now. I looked down at my warrior sneakers and smiled. Mama had been smart. She knew I'd be walking a lot and bought me these at the department store before I left. Song Xiufeng was eyeing the donkey cart, thinking it was stupid that we had to walk instead of ride. But after the scene on the bus, she knew better than to open her mouth first. Brigade leader Zhou Manchang watched us as we walked. I could tell he was surprised I kept going without complaining. He'd expected the pretty, pampered-looking girl to be the first one begging for a ride. I think his opinion of me improved a little. After a while, he checked his pocket watch and called out, "Stop." Then he said the female educated youth could ride on the cart, so we'd make it before dark. The men would keep walking. Song Xiufeng practically leaped onto the cart before he even finished speaking, terrified there wouldn't be room. Zhou Manchang frowned at that, then turned to Lily and me. "You two get on." "Thank you, Uncle Team Leader," I said sweetly. His expression softened. I could tell he thought I was a bit spoiled, but at least polite. Lily and I helped each other up and sat on our bundles. My legs were aching. I'd never walked that far in either of my lives. Lily whispered that the team leader seemed strict, but was actually pretty kind. I agreed, though I'd wait and see. I looked at my watch. Almost 4 o'clock. In the distance, mountains stretched endlessly in every direction. No wonder this place used to be called Big Mountain Village. Around 5:30, I finally spotted some small mud houses ahead. The walls were rough and pitted, the roofs covered with straw. Even though I'd prepared myself mentally, the gap between this and city life hit hard. The other educated youth looked miserable. They were all wondering if they'd made the right choice. Zhou Manchong could read their faces. He sighed inwardly. These kids were only 17 or 18, far from home. He'd keep them safe as long as they didn't cause too much trouble. But as for going hungry, that was up to them. Even the local farmers couldn't guarantee a full belly every day. The village was quiet. Only small children and old people with canes were around. Everyone who could work was out in the fields earning work points. Zhou Manchong told his son Hongwei to take us to the educated youth quarters, then walked off toward brigade headquarters. Tomorrow morning we'd go to the storehouse for grain. The day after, we'd start working. The educated youth quarters turned out to be the village's old ancestral hall, rebuilt when the policy came down. It was partly made of green brick, sturdier than most village houses. Inside was an open courtyard shaped like a sihiyuan, a row of main rooms in the center, with wing rooms on each side. Hongwei explained that the main rooms were shared dormitories, one for women, one for men. The wing rooms were private singles, but they cost 5 yuan each. I raised my hand immediately. I want a single room. I had my secret space to manage, and I couldn't do that sharing a room with other people. Me too, Lily said right after me. She did a quick calculation and decided she could afford it. We pulled out 5 yuan each and handed it over. 2 out of 3 female educated youth had chosen singles. Hongwei automatically glanced at Song Xiufang. Her face went bright red. She only had 20 yuan total. She couldn't afford to spend 5 in one go. She turned her sad, pitiful eyes toward me, hoping I'd pay for her. I looked at the sky. I looked at the ground. I looked everywhere except at her. Her money fantasies were ridiculous. My family earned every yuan through hard work. Hongwei cleared his throat and turned to the men. Li Jianhua could afford a single and paid up. Lin Chengdong and Lu Jun chose the shared room. Song Xiufang stared at me with wounded eyes as she dragged her bags into the women's dormitory, glancing back every few steps. She still couldn't figure out why I'd changed so completely. Her pitiful looks used to work on the old me every single time. Not anymore. After they left, Hongwei pointed to the wing rooms on both sides. Pick any room that isn't locked. If you need furniture like a cabinet, the brigade has a carpenter. You can trade for it. Nobody said buy in this era. Everything was traded. We nodded, and Hongwei left to return the donkey cart to the cattle shed. Let's pick rooms next to each other, Lily said, grabbing my wrist. We chose 2 rooms on the left side. Li Jianhua hesitated, then picked the one next to ours. So it went, me first, Lily second, Li Jianhua third. I set my suitcase and bundle at the door and pushed it open. My eyes went wide. I'd heard the phrase for bare walls before, but I'd never seen it so literally. The room was about 10 square meters. There was a kong, a raised earth bed against the wall. That was it. Nothing else. A tiny wooden lattice window by the door had cobwebs stretched across it. At least there was a wooden latch on the back of the door, so I could lock up at night. I checked the ceiling. No light coming through, so the roof probably wouldn't leak in the rain. Everything was covered in a thick layer of dust, the kong, the walls, the floor. I'd never cleaned anything in my life. Back in my old world, my foster father hired someone to take care of me. In this world, I was the baby of the family, always looked after by everyone else. I stood there completely lost. Lily was already moving fast next door. She poked her head in. Yuzhu, what are you standing around for? Get a rag and wipe the dust off. I looked at her blankly. A rag? Did Mama pack one? Lily sighed. She could tell I'd never done housework. She came over with a basin and cloth. Forget it. Let's clean your room first, then mine. I smiled gratefully. Thank you, Lily. I'll help with yours after. I found a broom in the courtyard, and we swept the ceiling and walls first. I suggested we paste newspaper on the walls to keep the dust down. Lily didn't have any, but I remembered packing plenty. We swept the Kong, and I wiped it with the rag, though the earthen surface stayed grimy no matter what. I realized I'd forgotten to buy straw mats when I was stocking up. Let's go find someone in the village tomorrow to trade for some grass mats, I told Lily. We can manage one night. This was my first time setting up a place of my own. I felt nervous and excited at the same time. We just finished cleaning my room when Song Xiufeng appeared. She stood in the doorway with a fake smile. Yuzhu, Lily, you're so fast. All done already. Neither of us responded. She walked over to my suitcase. Yuzhu, you haven't made your bed yet. You probably don't know how. Let me help. She reached down to open my case. Stop. I rushed over, slapped her hand away, and shoved myself between her and the suitcase. I stood there with my hands on my hips, anger burning on my face. Song Xiufeng, did I say you could touch my things? Don't think I don't know what you're after. You tricked me into signing up for the countryside, and I haven't even settled that score yet. Instead of staying far away from me, you keep pushing yourself closer. Do you think I'm still the old Yuzhu? I'm not. From now on, stay away from me. Otherwise, I'll settle every debt, old and new, all at once. Everything I gave you before? Consider it fed to a dog. That was the price of learning who you really are. From today, we go our separate ways. And I'm warning you, stop telling people you're my friend. I don't have a friend like you. I said it all in one breath. A knot of frustration I didn't even know I was carrying finally loosened in my chest. My cheeks and the rims of my eyes had gone red from the effort. Lily rushed to my side, patting my back. Don't be angry, don't be angry. Then she turned on Song Xiufeng. So, Yuzhu ended up in the countryside because you tricked her? How do you still have the nerve to show your face? That's shameless. Poor Lily had never argued with anyone before. She stumbled a bit, but she got the point across. Li Jianhua, Lin Qingdong, and Lu Jun had come outside and heard everything. They all looked at Song Xiufeng with contempt. Song Xiufeng stood frozen, stunned that I'd said it all out loud and cut ties completely. When she saw everyone's disgusted expressions, she stumbled back to her room on shaky legs. Nobody needed further explanation. Her running away said it all. Everything I'd said was true. I took a deep breath, patted Lily's hand, and smiled. Come on, let's go clean your room. Are you okay? She asked, looking worried. I'm great, I said, and I meant it. Better to see her true face now than later. You should congratulate me. We laughed together and went to work on her room. We pasted newspaper on the walls around the Kong and over the windows in both rooms. Then I went back to my room and closed the door. I closed my door and started setting up my bed. I took an old-style sheet from my storage space to lay on the bottom, then spread out the bedding Mama had prepared, the mattress pad, the pillow, and a gray cover I slipped over the quilt. Just doing that simple task made me sweat. I'd never made a bed in my life. I took a sip of water from a dispenser in my apartment. Instantly refreshing. Then I opened my suitcase. Mama had packed so much. Several sets of clothes for daily wear and fieldwork, shoes for both, socks, underwear, pajamas. A comb, mirror, flashlight, batteries. Snow cream for my skin, malted milk powder, canned food, milk candies, fried dough twists, rice crackers, walnut cookies. She'd included a little of every snack. A big lunchbox, an enamel cup, soap, toothpaste, toothbrush, work gloves, and a straw hat. Salted meat, meat sauce, and canned meat wrapped in newspaper. Even a padlock and key. Looking at all these things, I felt my eyes stinging. I missed my parents. It had only been a few days in this world, but honestly, I was starting to wonder if I'd always been this Yuzhu. I felt zero resistance toward the Yi family. They felt like my real family as naturally as breathing. I had no proof, but it didn't matter anymore. I was Yi Yuzhu. They were my family. That was enough. I wiped my eyes and tried to organize, but then looked around the empty room. No shelves, no cabinet, no furniture at all. I'd have to get those tomorrow. Yuzhu, come out. Lily called from outside. The old, educated youth had returned from the fields. 3 women and 4 men walked through the gate. I spotted him immediately, the man walking at the back. He was a full head taller than the others. About 22 or 23, with a tall, lean build. He wore a plain navy-striped shirt with the sleeves rolled up to his elbows, showing tanned, well-defined forearms. Old military green trousers couldn't hide his long legs. His face was striking, lean cheeks, narrow sharp eyes, a high straight nose, a clean jawline. He carried an air of cool detachment, almost intimidating. My heart whispered, what a handsome, powerful-looking man. The other male educated youth didn't even compare. Then he felt me staring. He lifted his eyelids lazily and looked my way. Our eyes met. My face went red instantly. I looked away as fast as I could. So embarrassing. Caught staring. He paused for just a moment, then walked on as if nothing had happened. He unlocked his door, went inside, and shut it behind him. The educated youth team leader, Ma Igua, noticed us newcomers and introduced himself. He led everyone into the main room, a shared space used for meetings and cooking. All 13 educated youth gathered, old and new. Everyone except that man. Ma Igua introduced the veterans. 3 women, Zhang Hongying, Guo Xiaoxia, and Zhou Yunwan, all arrived in 1968. 3 men, Zhao Minghua, Feng Jianxi, and Liu Youfu, came in 1968 and 1969. I memorized every name and face in one round. My memory had always been good, but I kept wondering, what was that tall man's name? He hadn't come to the meeting. He seemed like a loner. Li Jianhua asked the same question. Team leader, what about that man in the courtyard? Oh, you mean Ji Yan, Ma Igua said his name casually.
Yan.
That was a nice name, I thought. He came last winter. He doesn't really talk to us. Besides work, we barely see him. He rented 2 rooms from the brigade and cooks for himself. He keeps completely to himself. I tilted my head, listening carefully. So those 2 locked rooms across the courtyard were both his. Ma Igua moved on to practical matters. Male educated youth handle carrying water. Female educated youth cook. You can work in pairs, but each pair cooks for 2 days. Everyone tends the vegetable plot and gathers firewood together. Keep your own grain and bring out only what you need for each meal. Then he looked at us newcomers. If any of you want to cook on your own separately, that's fine too. The moment he said that, my eyes lit up. So did Lily's and Li Jianhua's. Ma Igua explained the options for cooking alone. We could either use the shared kitchen at off hours or find a village bricklayer to build our own stove, but that meant buying an iron wok, which was expensive and required industrial coupons from the county. Most village families didn't even own one. The educated youth quarters only had their pot because the Commune bought it 2 years ago. Lily and Li Jianhua's hopeful expressions faded. Neither option was easy. Ma Igua asked who was in private rooms. Li Jianhua pointed at the 3 of us. The old educated youth glanced us over. They could tell we had better conditions, especially me, with my new wristwatch and department store sneakers. Tonight, we old educated youth will provide the grain for your welcome dinner, Ma Igua said. Starting tomorrow, you bring your own. As we left the meeting room, Lily tugged my arm and whispered, we should bring something from home to share tonight. Otherwise, it feels like we're taking advantage of them. And look at them, they're all so thin. She was right. Okay, let's do that. At dinner, everyone except Song Xiaofang brought something. Some offered dried sweet potatoes, chili sauce, or pickled radish. Li Jianhua was the most generous. 2 sticks of dried meat. I brought out some walnut cookies from what Mama had packed. The old, educated youth brightened up immediately. Song Xiaofang was the only unhappy face at the table. She thought we were excluding her on purpose. In her mind, since she had nothing to contribute, we should have covered her share. She sulked through the entire meal. I couldn't stand looking at her. She killed my appetite, though honestly there wasn't much appetite to kill. The food was almost impossible to eat. Half a cornbread bun per person, made from a mix of dark flour and cornmeal that scratched my throat going down. On the table sat a watery cabbage soup, a plate of shredded potatoes, and a bowl of dark pickled vegetables. Not a drop of oil anywhere. And this was the special welcome dinner. On a normal day, the old educated youth ate even less, half a dark bun and some pickles or nothing at all. This was just how life was here. If you wanted better food, you needed money and ration coupons, or you had to hunt in the mountains. The commune was 2 hours away on foot, and the county even farther. I forced down my half bun. Wasting food was absolutely not allowed in this era. Right then, I made a decision. Tomorrow I'd ask the brigade leader to rent another room, find a bricklayer to build me a stove, and start cooking on my own. I had iron pots in my warehouse. I just needed to make a trip to the county, so I could bring one out without raising suspicion. I had to separate from the group kitchen. A few days of this food was manageable, but long-term, I'd waste away until my parents wouldn't recognize me. After dinner, Ma Igua paired us up for cooking duty. Lily and I would be a team. Back in my room, I sighed at the bare walls under my flashlight beam. I hung a piece of dark blue cloth over the newspaper-covered window for extra privacy. Half an hour later, when the quarters went completely silent, I slipped into my apartment. First, I heated up the leftover chicken soup that Annie Chun had made before I left. I discovered that everything in the apartment and warehouse stayed perfectly fresh, so the soup was still good. One warm bowl, and my stomach felt alive again, like coming back from the dead. Then I took the pajamas Mama had packed, went to the bathroom, and had a long hot shower. I washed my hair, dried it, changed into clean clothes, and lay down on the Kong. After such an exhausting day, I fell asleep instantly. I didn't wake up until 8 the next morning, when Lily knocked on my door. Yuzhu, get up. We need to go get our grain from the brigade's storehouse. I jumped out of bed, scrambling. I'd slept way too deeply. I grabbed a white blouse with black polka dots, one of the new ones Mama had made for me, paired it with black pants, changed my socks, and kept the same sneakers. When I opened the door, all the new educated youth were waiting in the courtyard. The old ones had already left for work. Sorry, I was so tired yesterday, I said with an embarrassed smile. Li Jianhua's eyes lit up when he saw me. No problem. We just got up too. Song Xiufang pursed her lips. She knew I loved sleeping in back home and was already imagining me struggling with farm work, crawling back to beg for her help. She was living in a fantasy world. I grabbed my enamel cup and toothbrush and went to the kitchen. There was a big water tank that everyone used for cooking and washing. I brushed my teeth, splashed cold water on my face, and headed out with the others. For breakfast, I ate 2 walnut cookies while walking. Everyone else was eating whatever dry food they'd brought from home. We asked some village children for directions and found the brigade storehouse. The accountant was waiting for us. Each person gets 10 jin of corn flour, 10 jin of buckwheat flour, and 10 jin of sweet potatoes, he said. You pay it back with work points at the end of the year. And the sacks belong to the brigade. Return them or buy new ones. He left in a hurry to get back to the fields. We all stared at the grain on the ground. 30 jin per person. That was supposed to last us? No wonder the old educated youth looked half-starved. The 3 men carried the women's grain back too, even Song Xiufang's, not out of kindness, but to avoid looking bad in front of the villagers. After storing the grain, Lily, Li Jianhua, and I went to find the carpenter to order some furniture. Our rooms had nothing but a bare Kong. But we'd forgotten, everyone was still out working in the fields. The carpenter's house was empty except for some kids. We laughed at ourselves and headed back, agreeing to return after work hours. Back in my room, I closed the door, pulled out a bottle of milk and a piece of bread from my space, and ate slowly. When I finished, I tossed the trash into my apartment. It cleaned itself up automatically. Then I took out paper and pen from my suitcase and started writing a letter home. Dear Mama and Papa, this is Yuzhu. I've arrived at Xinguang Brigade. I'd just finished writing when a scream came from outside. I rushed out and found Lily stumbling from the backyard, gagging and patting her chest. She'd gone to use the outhouse and found it crawling with white maggots. I felt sick just hearing her describe it. Thank goodness I had my space. Otherwise, I'd never be able to use the bathroom here either. It's okay, Lily said, pulling herself together. I'll get used to it. Her ability to adapt was much better than mine. At noon, the workers came back for lunch. I stood in my doorway and noticed Ji Yen hadn't returned with the others. Then a half-grown boy came running into the courtyard, out of breath. Which one is educated youth ye? Someone's here for you. My grandpa says come to the brigade square, quick. I was confused. I'd only arrived yesterday. Who could be looking for me? I ran to the square, with Lily right behind me. A crowd had gathered. When they saw me, they parted to make way. Standing there was a man in his 40s wearing a public security uniform, one hand resting on a big black bicycle. I recognized him instantly from my memories. This was Chun Gang, my second uncle's old army buddy. My second uncle, Yi Wenjung, was a deputy division commander stationed in the south. He was the highest-ranking person in our family. When the trouble with the anonymous report happened, my father had called him right away. The two brothers decided I should go to the countryside temporarily, and second uncle promised to arrange people to watch over me. Chun Gang and second uncle had served together in the same unit. Uncle Wenjung had saved his life several times. After Chun Gang was wounded in a mission, he transferred back to his hometown. Now he was the deputy director of the Changha County Public Security Bureau. I walked up with a bright smile. You must be Uncle Chun Gang. My second uncle has told me about you. He looked at me and probably understood why Uncle Wenjung had been calling him every single day, insisting he make the trip personally. If he had a niece this pretty sent to the countryside, he wouldn't feel safe either. Uncle Chun Gang's face warmed up right away. You must be Yuzhu. Your second uncle asked me to come check on you personally. He said you were a fine girl, and he was right. He said it loud enough for everyone to hear that my uncle was a soldier, that he himself worked at the County Public Security Bureau, and that I was welcome at his home anytime. The crowd's reaction was instant. In this era, soldiers were the most respected people, and military families got special treatment. Nobody dared bully them. And the Public Security Bureau? That terrified people even more. The educated youth's expressions cracked. They thought my family was just a little better off than theirs. Now they realized we weren't even in the same league. Li Jianhua's face flickered with doubt. Could he really pursue someone like me? Song Xiufeng was burning with pure jealousy. I knew exactly what Uncle Chun Gang was doing. He was publicly showing everyone that I had powerful backing, warning anyone with bad intentions to stay away. I smiled sweetly. Thank you, Uncle Chung. I'll definitely come visit you and Auntie. Inside, I felt warm. My family was looking out for me even from so far away. The brigade leaders understood the message immediately. Zhou Manchong led us to the brigade office to talk privately. While Uncle Chun Gang spoke with the brigade leader and party secretary behind closed doors, I sat in another room with the women's director. I could guess what was being discussed. Uncle Chun Gang was asking them to go easy on me. He gave them 2 packs of dakium and cigarettes and explained that I was the youngest in my family, a little spoiled. When they came out, Zhou Manchong had agreed to assign me to cutting pig grass, the lightest job usually given to children and elderly people who couldn't work the fields. It was a compromise. I had to do something so the other villagers and educated youth wouldn't complain, but nothing that would actually exhaust me. Before Uncle Chun Gang left, I asked Zhou Manchong about setting up my own kitchen. He said renting a whole extra room wasn't possible. They needed to save space for future educated youth. But he offered to knock a door through the back wall of my room and build a small kitchen behind it. I agreed immediately. He said the workers would start after their shift, and it would only take a few days. Back at the educated youth quarters, Uncle Chun Gang unloaded the bag from his bicycle. A thermos, a ceramic basin, 5 jean of rice, a 2 jean piece of smoked meat, and 2 links of red sausage. The other educated youth watched with envious eyes. If I'd known you were cooking on your own, I'd have brought you an iron pot, he said. These are already too much, Uncle. I'll buy a pot when I go to the county, I said quickly. Before he left, I ran inside and grabbed one of the canned goods Mama had packed. I stuffed it into his bag. Uncle Chung, thank you for coming all this way. I don't even have hot water to offer you. Please take this, it's just a small thing, he laughed. You family people really know how to treat others. He patted my shoulder. When you come to the county, Find me at the public security family compound. I nodded and walked him to the gate. When I turned back around, Ji-Yan was leaning against his doorframe, his gaze sweeping over me lazily before he disappeared inside his room. I looked down at myself. My clothes were perfectly neat and proper. "What are you staring at?" I muttered under my breath. Everyone at the educated youth quarters heard Uncle Chungang mention I'd be cooking on my own. They looked at the gifts on the ground, thought about my family background, and accepted it without fuss. When the gap is big enough, there's nothing to be jealous about. Lily came over with a warm smile. "If you need help with anything, just say so." I told her the brigade leader had already promised to send workers after their shift. "And don't worry, if I need you, I won't be shy about asking." Lily was smart enough not to suggest we cook together. She knew the difference in our situations would make things uneven, and she didn't want that to ruin our friendship. I respected her for that. Li Jianhua and the other educated youth all offered to help too, everyone except Song Xiufeng. It felt good. I'd been worried I might end up surrounded by difficult people, but so far, they were decent. That afternoon, Lily, Li Jianhua, and I went to the carpenter's house. His wife, Auntie Juhua, was a cheerful woman who welcomed us right in. The brigade leader's wife had already told her we were coming. The yard was stacked with handmade furniture, unvarnished but smooth and solid. I picked out a wardrobe, a Kong cabinet, a Kong table, a small cupboard, a dining table, 2 chairs, and a wash basin stand. Enough to fill my tiny room. For payment, I traded half a jean of brown sugar and half a jean of white rabbit milk candies. Sugar was more precious than money in the countryside. You needed both cash and sugar coupons to buy it. Auntie Juhua's face lit up with wrinkles of joy. Her daughter-in-law was about to have a baby, and the brown sugar was exactly what she needed. She even threw in free straw mats, handwoven by the family. Lily and I almost cried with happiness. We'd been wondering where to find those. Before I left, I pressed a few fruit candies into her palm. She hummed a little song as she saw us off. Meanwhile, Uncle Chungang called my second uncle down south to report that I'd arrived safely. Second uncle then called my father in Shanghai. My parents hadn't slept well for 2 nights, worrying about me. Hearing I was safe, Papa finally relaxed. Second uncle told Papa not to worry. Yuzhu is like my own daughter. She's suffering because of our family situation, and I'll use every connection I have to keep her safe. My family's love for me stretched across the whole country. I could feel it even here. After work that evening, Auntie Juhua's 3 sons delivered all the furniture to the educated youth quarters. Brigade leader Zhou Manchong also showed up with his 2 sons and his brother and nephew, carrying tools. They knocked a doorway through my back wall, fitted a solid new wooden door, and framed out the opening for my kitchen, all in 3 hours. I couldn't offer them a proper meal yet since I had no stove, so I made a big enamel mug of hot brown sugar water for everyone. Zhou Manchong's eyes brightened as he drank it. I could tell he thought I was a thoughtful person. Most people here considered plain hot water a luxury. On his way home in the dark, I heard he told his family to build my kitchen well and make it sturdy. I was paying each worker 3 mao per day, fair wages that showed I respected their labor. Zhou Manchong apparently said I was young but knew how to treat people right. He was willing to look after me a little more because of that. After they left, I swept out the dust from the construction, cleaned everything up, and admired my brand new back door. Beautiful. I locked up, slipped into my apartment to wash, then spread out my bedding, and went to sleep. Tomorrow was my first day of work. My alarm woke me at 5:30. Work started at 6:30, so I had time. I changed into the work clothes Mama had made, plain and sturdy, and laced up a pair of brand new Liberation shoes. No way was I wearing my leather shoes or sneakers into the fields. I braided my hair into 2 plaits, grabbed my enamel basin with my towel and toothbrush, and stepped outside. The moment I opened my door, Ji-Yan opened his across the courtyard. Our eyes met. I caught a flicker of surprise on his face. He hadn't expected me to be up this early. We both looked away. Lily appeared beside me. "Oh, you're already up. I was just coming to wake you." I smiled. I remembered work starts today. I woke up on my own. The morning water wasn't heated, so we brushed our teeth and washed our faces with cold water. Breakfast from the shared kitchen was corn grits porridge and half a sweet potato, but I'd already eaten bread and milk in my room beforehand and put on sunscreen. I forced down the porridge but couldn't manage the sweet potato, so I gave it to Lily. Before heading out, I went back for my water bottle, straw hat, and work gloves. The other educated youth stared at my equipment. Most of them only had a water bottle at best. Some didn't even have that. Industrial coupons were needed to buy one. On the main road, villagers turned to look at us newcomers, mostly at me. Yesterday's visit from the public security officer had made me famous. People eyed my brand new hat, gloves, and water bottle with envy, but nobody dared cause trouble. I was fine with being noticed. Having a known background meant people wouldn't try to bully me. At the assembly point, Zhou Manchong split the 6 of us into 3 pairs, 1 man, 1 woman each. I was paired with Lu Jun, Li Jianhua got paired with Lily. Song Xiufang went with Lin Qingdong. Li Jianhua looked disappointed he wasn't with me, but one glance at the brigade leader's stern face kept him quiet. I followed the first squad leader with Lu Jun. "What are we doing today?" I asked softly. "Picking corn," he said, stone-faced. He walked us past field after field until we reached a smaller plot. "This is your area, educated youth ye." He left me 2 baskets and took Lu Jun further on. I stood at the edge looking at the golden cornfield. In both my lives, I had never done farm work. Not once. I tried to remember videos I'd watched before. Grabbed the top of the ear, pushed down hard, snap. 1 corn cob came off of my hand. I grinned at it with genuine pride. But the air between the tall stalks was stifling. The sun beat down overhead. Within minutes, sweat was pouring down my face and neck. The corn's silk kept tickling my skin. Even through my gloves, my palms turned red. After a short while, I looked around at the corn cobs scattered messily on the ground and felt dizzy. I plopped down right there in the dirt. I needed a break. Those first 2 ears had felt so easy. I was wrong. There is nothing easy about farm work. Farmers are the greatest people on earth. Thank goodness I didn't depend on work points to eat. Idish taraba. The squad leader walked by and saw me sitting on the ground, one hand propping up my chin, the other fanning my face with my straw hat. His brow furrowed, and he started to march over to scold me for slacking. Then he remembered the police officer's visit and the brigade leader's instructions. With educated youth ye, just turn a blind eye. He slapped his hand over the eye that could see my field and hurried away. He saw nothing. Nothing at all. After resting a bit, I felt better and got back to work. I dragged a basket over. The thing was enormous, big enough for me to curl up inside. I squatted down and tossed in the corn I'd picked, one by one. Pick, toss, pick, toss. After over an hour, the basket was more than half full. Then I needed to move it closer. I bent over, grabbed the edges, planted my feet, and pulled with everything I had. My face went completely red. The basket didn't budge. Suddenly, a pair of large, tanned hands appeared. With one easy push, the basket slid forward, and I lost my balance and fell right on my backside. I looked up from the ground. It was Ji Yen, his narrow eyes looking down at me, one hand still reaching out. "Oh, it's you," I said, breathless and flustered. He looked away, his Adam's apple bobbing once. Then he quickly picked up my straw hat from the ground, plopped it on my head, and in one swift move jumped back onto the path, hoisted his 2 overflowing baskets of corn onto his carrying pole, and walked away. I stood up and watched his tall figure disappear. His strength was incredible. 2 huge baskets piled high with corn, and he carried them like they were nothing, back perfectly straight, steps perfectly steady. Later, I heard that Song Xiufang had tried the same trick on him, pretending she couldn't move her basket and asking sweetly for help. He walked right past her like she was invisible. She was furious, stomping her feet behind him, calling him heartless. She'd been eyeing him since we arrived, figuring that since she couldn't get anything from me anymore, maybe she could work on him instead. His renting 2 rooms meant he probably had money, but he wasn't interested. By the end of the morning, I'd picked 2 heaping baskets of corn. When the lunch gong sounded, I dusted off my hands, feeling proud. Not bad for my first day. On the walk back, Lily caught up with me. How'd it go? Was it okay? Great, I said, chin up. I picked 2 whole baskets, Lily hesitated. That's. The kid working next to me did 3 baskets. She'd done 4 herself. Corn picking wasn't hard for her. She'd helped her grandparents in the countryside during school holidays. But she was kind. For your first day, that's really impressive, she said. I gave her a thumbs up for her 4 baskets. Deep down, I knew that even with practice, I'd never match her. This body had been pampered its whole life, just like my previous one. Back at the quarters, I choked down a corn bun with water and retreated to my room. I flopped onto the straw mat and started planning. Tonight I'd cook 2 dishes in my apartment and store them in the space so I could eat properly at lunch. I actually knew how to cook. In my old life, I taught myself as a teenager to thank my foster father. By 16 or 17, I could make a full table of his favorite dishes. He'd always smile so happily and tell me I was wonderful. My hungry stomach growled at the memories. I slipped into my apartment and heated up some Italian meat sauce pasta from my supplies. Simple, but delicious. Lying on the Kong afterward, my thoughts drifted to Jian. I never expected him to help me this morning. Maybe he wasn't as unapproachable as he seemed. That afternoon, I went back to the same field. I was noticeably faster, more confident with the technique. But I still sat down to rest regularly. Every single time I sat down, Jian happened to walk past carrying his baskets. The first time, I was embarrassed. By the 3rd or 4th time, I just accepted it. Since he'd helped me that morning, I started greeting him whenever he passed. He always responded, but only with one word. Or yeah. I sighed to myself. If Jian had friends, did his one-word answers drive them crazy? Maybe he was different with people he was close to. After all, we were barely more than strangers. When the end of work gong rang, I grabbed my water bottle and hurried to the brigade storehouse with the others to log my work points. I'd picked 5 baskets of corn all day, 2 work points. The lowest of all the new educated youth. The villagers looked over and shook their heads. Less than what their half-grown children could do. I didn't care one bit. Why compare myself to others? Compared to me yesterday, someone who'd never done a single day of farm work, 5 baskets was impressive. Lily watched me with worried eyes, afraid I'd feel bad. I threw my arm around her neck and grinned. Relax, ai fine. I'm a person who earned 2 whole work points today, she laughed. She was overthinking it. I didn't need work points to eat. Back at the quarters, Uncle Zhou Monchong's brother and their sons arrived with a cart full of mud bricks, wood, and tools. My little kitchen was taking shape. I left out a big mug of brown sugar water for them again, just like yesterday. 4 grown men drinking the sweet stuff women usually only got after giving birth. They worked with extra energy. By the time they left, the kitchen was about a quarter done. That evening, the female educated youth heated water for baths. Zhang Hongying, the eldest among the women, came to invite Lily and me. She was tall with a gentle way about her. I suddenly realized we'd been here 3 days and hadn't visibly bathed once. I quickly agreed and grabbed my basin. In the kitchen, Guo Xiaoxia and Zhou Yunwan let us scoop water first. I gave each of the 3 women a milk candy and Lily gave fruit candies. The water was theirs, after all. I also told Zhang Hongying to let us know next time, so we could help. After we left, I later learned the 3 old female educated youth talked about me. They'd been worried I'd be a spoiled princess who'd boss everyone around. Instead, Zhou Yunwan said I was easy to be around. Guo Xiaoxia agreed, no arrogance at all. Zhang Hongying said we should all get along since life out here was hard for every woman. None of them mentioned Song Xiufang. 3 days was enough to see what she was, someone always looking to take advantage. They hadn't even told her about the hot water. They simply didn't want her using it for free. As Lily and I carried our basins back, I glanced at Ji Yan's room across the courtyard. Pitch dark. No light at all. I hadn't seen him since work ended. Was he back? Had he eaten dinner? I shook my head. What was wrong with me? A grown man wasn't going to starve himself. In my room, I checked both doors carefully, then slipped into my apartment with the basin. I set the water down in the living room and went straight to the kitchen. The fridge was packed. Annie Chen had stocked it well before she left. I took out 2 jean of beef brisket, 5 potatoes, and 3 tomatoes. Tomato and potato beef stew with a pot of white rice. Enough for several days. While the stew simmered and the rice cooked, I showered and washed up properly. Then I came out in my pajamas, drank half a glass of the special water from the dispenser, and lay down on the Kong. The water worked too well. I was wide awake, staring at the dark ceiling in perfect silence. Then I heard the faintest sound from the courtyard. My ears had always been sharp. Curiosity got the better of me. I crept to the window, lifted the cloth curtain, wet my finger, and poked a tiny hole in the newspaper. In the moonlight, I saw Ji Yan with his back to me, unlocking his door. My heartbeat settled. Just him coming home. But where had he been this late? It seemed like he had secrets of his own. I yawned, shuffled back to bed, and pulled up the covers. Outside, Ji Yan stood in the doorway. I didn't know it then, but the corner of his mouth had lifted just slightly in the moonlight. He'd noticed my little peephole. The next morning, I woke at 5:30 feeling completely refreshed, thanks to the special water I'd drunk before bed. Not a single sore muscle. But I couldn't let anyone know that, so when Lily appeared rubbing her aching back, I quickly pressed a hand to my own waist and put on my best pained expression. Me too, my back, my arms, my legs, everything hurts. Ji Yan came out of his room and must have overheard us. I didn't realize until later that my hand had drifted from my waist up to my shoulder blade, not exactly where you'd rub if your back was sore from bending. Li Jianhua caught up with us and offered to finish his work early so he could come help me. I turned him down clearly. No thanks, Li Jiqing. I can handle my own work. We're not even in the same squad. His face fell, but Lily grabbed my hand and pulled me ahead. In this era, a girl letting a boy do her work would set tongues wagging, unless they were a couple. At breakfast, Zhang Hongying reminded Lily and me that tomorrow was our turn to cook. We need to get up half an hour earlier to make porridge, steam buns, and cook sweet potatoes. On the way to work, Song Xiufang suddenly sprinted to the front of the group. I raised an eyebrow. So eager? Within 2 minutes, I saw why. She'd chased down Ji Yan and was trying to give him something. He stepped back, put distance between them, and walked away without looking back. Behind me, Gua Xiaoxia snorted. Who does Song Xiufang think she is? As if Ji Jiqing would give her the time of day. Lily and I turned around with identical expressions. Pure curiosity. Gua Xiaoxia squeezed between us, delighted to have an audience. Let me tell you everything. Apparently, when Ji Yan first arrived at Xinguang Brigade, he'd caused quite a stir. Tall, handsome, clearly capable, and his belongings suggested his family wasn't poor. He had an unpatched cotton coat and even a military overcoat. Every unmarried girl in the village had tried flirting with him at one point or another. He shut them all down with a cold face. People figured maybe he just looked down on country girls. But then even the Commune leader's daughter came after him, visited the brigade several times. Ji Yan's attitude was even icier with her. She left defeated. The consensus was that Ji Yan's standards were impossibly high. Gua Xiaoxia warned us, don't go near him unless you want to be embarrassed. She admitted that she and Zhou Yinwan had both thought about it early on but gave up after watching him reject everyone. Lily shook her head vigorously. I wouldn't dare. He scares me. I just nodded. Got it. But privately I felt the Ji Yan they described didn't quite match the one I knew. He'd helped me with the basket. He responded when I greeted him. Sure, his answers were one word at most, but he wasn't unkind. I kept that to myself, though. Out in the field, I went back to my same corn plot. The 2 empty baskets were waiting. I sighed, pulled on my gloves, and got to work. Same rhythm as yesterday. Work for half an hour, rest for 10 minutes. During one break, I sat on the ridge hugging my water bottle and saw Ji Yan approaching with his carrying pole. I hopped down to clear the path for him. When he got close and saw me smiling at him, eyes curved into little moons, water bottle clutched to my chest, something in his gaze softened. He gave me a small nod. My smile grew wider. See? He wasn't the cold wall everyone described. Whenever I needed my big basket moved, he seemed to appear right on time to help. I decided next time I saw him, I'd give him a candy. Did men even like candy? I wondered. I was so busy thinking about this that I stopped watching my hands. A sharp corn leaf whipped straight across my face and into my eye. Ah, a burst of sharp pain. I couldn't open my eyes. Tears flooded out instantly. Yan was carrying his last load of corn before the lunch break. He was still on the ridge of the field ahead when he heard my cry. He dropped both overflowing baskets right where they stood. His long legs cleared the ridge in one jump. 3 strides, and he was standing in front of me. Jiqing, is that you? I heard quick footsteps and caught a scent. Masculine, with just a hint of sweat. Not unpleasant at all. Yes, it's me. How are you? His low, rough voice came from above, laced with concern. My lips trembled. A corn leaf cut my eye. It really hurts. I can't open it and I can't see. Don't rub it, he said sharply. I dropped the hand that was reaching for my eye. He spotted my water bottle on the ridge. Is that clean water? Yes. It was water from my apartment's dispenser, though he didn't know that. He grabbed it and came back. Take your hands down. I'll rinse your eye. I lowered my hands and tried to force open my good eye, but tears blurred everything. I could barely make out his shape. Can you open the injured eye? He asked. I'll try, but every time my fingers touched it, the stinging made me flinch. After several failed attempts, my voice came out small and shaky. I can't do it. Okay, I will. He opened the water bottle and washed his own hands first. Then he said quietly, Here I go. I tilted my head toward him and gripped the hem of my shirt with both fists. His calloused fingertips touched the skin around my eye, so gentle for such strong hands. He carefully held my eyelid open and poured clean water over my eyeball in a slow stream. The moment the water hit, the sharp pain faded dramatically. That magical water from my dispenser was working its wonders even now. My other eye cleared up too, and suddenly I could see his face right in front of mine. Those deep-set eyes, the sharp brows, the high straight nose, the thin pressed lips. Every detail printed itself into my vision. My heart was pounding so loud, I was sure he could hear it. I looked away. Is it done? He let go. His voice had gone noticeably hoarser. Yes. How does it feel? I stood up straight, wiped my face with my handkerchief, and blinked carefully. Still uncomfortable, but so much better. The redness was already fading. Much better, I said. He exhaled. Don't rub your eye. Work's almost over. Just sit here and rest. Don't do any more picking. If it's still bad this afternoon, ask the team leader for time off. Okay, but I looked down at the corn scattered everywhere on the ground. He followed my gaze. Sit up on the ridge. I'll pick those up. So I sat on the ridge, hugging my water bottle, one eye closed and one open, watching Jiyan crouch among the stalks and gather my corn with smooth, effortless motions. His back was so broad, his arms so long and powerful. Even crouching, his legs seemed to go on forever. His waist looked strong and solid. Someday, his girlfriend would be very lucky. And then a thought hit me. Girlfriend? What about me? In my old life, my weak body kept me away from boys. Even when someone confessed feelings for me, I'd just smile and move on. Romance had never crossed my mind. But now, I stared at his back. Maybe I could try? Have a sweet little romance? This body was only 17. Wasn't that too young? But then again, in this era, 17 was already grown. People started courting at this age. It was perfectly normal. But Jiyan seemed so mature. Was the age gap too big? My thoughts spiraled further and further, and my expression must have gone completely dreamy, because when Jiyan turned around, he caught me staring into space like a fool. Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, maybe. He walked up close. We were standing near each other, and I suddenly realized the top of my head only reached his shoulder. I had to tilt my chin up to see his jaw. He was so tall. I picked up all the corn, he said quietly. Stay here until work ends. Walk slowly on the way back. If you're still hurting this afternoon, take the day off. I nodded obediently. Then I reached into my pocket, pulled out a white rabbit milk candy, and held it out on my palm. Want some candy? He paused. His eyes moved from the candy to my face. The corner of his mouth lifted just slightly. Yes. He took the candy from my palm, peeled the wrapper, and popped it in his mouth. Then he picked up his pole and baskets, gave me one long, deep look, and walked away. I sat there humming a little tune, happy as could be. I pulled out a bottle of artificial tears from my space and put drops in my injured eye. It still stung a little, but it was healing. After work, I walked back slowly with one hand over my eye. Lily was waiting for me at our usual spot and rushed over, worried. The other educated youth gathered around too. A corn leaf scratched my eye, I explained. I rinsed it with clean water right away. Zhang Hongying gently checked my eye. Still a bit red, but no swelling. Should be okay, Ma Igwa said. If it got worse, he'd ask the brigade leader to send me to the Commune hospital by donkey cart. Everyone looked genuinely concerned. I thanked them all, feeling warm inside. I wasn't going to joke around with my health, but I had the special water and medicine in my space, so I wasn't too worried. As the group walked me back, I felt something and glanced over my shoulder. Ji Yan was walking behind us, unhurried. Our eyes met across the distance, and something sparked in the air between us. Something quiet and new. I turned back around, my heart dancing. Everything that had happened in that cornfield was a secret that belonged only to the two of us. Back at the quarters, I choked down a corn bun, then locked my door and slipped into my apartment. A big bowl of white rice smothered in tender, flavorful potato and beef stew. I shoveled in a huge spoonful. So good. After 3 or 4 days, I was finally eating real rice again. I demolished the whole bowl, then waddled around the living room rubbing my stuffed belly. I drank some of the special water and used it to rinse my eye one more time before lying down on the Kong to rest. Before afternoon work, I checked the mirror. My eye was completely healed, not a trace of redness. When I stepped outside, Lily peered into my face anxiously. Look, I said, leaning close. All better. Really? It's not red at all, she said, relieved. Across the courtyard, Ji-en came out, heard her say that, glanced my way once, then walked out the gate ahead of everyone. In the field, the brigade leader's wife came to check on me, a cheerful woman named Lin Ho-hot. Zhou Manchong had heard about my injury the moment he got back and sent her right over. She peered at my eye. All good now. All good, Annie, I said, and pressed 2 white rabbit candies into her hand. She was the most influential woman among the brigade wives. 2 candies to build goodwill was a smart investment. Her face crumpled into 1,000 happy wrinkles. She told me to come find her anytime I needed help with anything. After she left, I went back to picking corn, feeling pleased. Another useful connection made. When I'd filled one basket, Ji-en appeared. You're here, I said, my voice going soft without meaning to. His dark eyes turned gentle. He jumped down and helped me gather the scattered corn. We crouched side by side, picking up ears together. When we both reached for the last one at the same time, his rough palm accidentally brushed my fingers. He yanked his hand back like he'd been burned. My cheeks went warm. Then I noticed the tips of his ears had gone red. So he could be shy too. That discovery made me ridiculously happy. I ducked my head and giggled. He stood up, dusted his hands, and pulled something from his pocket. A boiled egg. For you. I looked into his eyes. Is this because I gave you candy this morning? He shook his head, almost on instinct. No. You got hurt today. Eat an egg, it's good for you. I smiled. Okay. I peeled the shell in 3 quick moves and stuffed most of the egg into my mouth at once. Delicious, I mumbled, then realized I could barely swallow. Too much at once. Ji-en shook his head helplessly, grabbed my water bottle, unscrewed the cap, and held it out. Drink some water. Eat slower. I gulped 2 big mouthfuls and forced the egg down. Close call. He took the bottle back, tightened the lid, and said softly, Take your time with the work. I'll come back later to help. Great, I didn't hesitate. I wanted to spend more time with him. Getting closer could only help. He picked up his carrying pole, ready to go. Oh wait, Ji-en, how old are you? This was an absolutely critical question. He looked puzzled but answered. I just turned 23. I waved my hand. Okay, got it. Never mind. You can go. Something shifted on his face, a tiny flicker of worry. I think he suddenly felt old. After he left, I counted on my fingers. I was 17. He was 23. 6 years apart. It sounded like a big gap. Like a high schooler dating a college graduate. Okay, when I put it that way, it did seem like a lot. But I immediately comforted myself. Older men know how to treat a woman well. Yes. That's exactly right. I was basically talking myself into it. Ping myself, really. GN started showing up every hour and a half or so, helping me for about 10 minutes each time without anyone noticing. Thanks to him, I picked 7 baskets that day. At the counting station, the scorekeeper actually looked at me kindly. Progress. I was smart about it. I'd told Yen not to overdo it. If my numbers jumped too much, people would suspect I'd been slacking before. 2 extra baskets per day was just right. Over the next several days, he kept quietly helping me. Together, we made sure I didn't fall too far behind the other new educated youth. By the end of the week, I'd finished my entire assigned plot of corn. Standing at the edge of that cleared field, I couldn't believe it. I actually did it. The pride I felt was real. Brigade leader Zhou Manchong was pleased too. He'd heard from other brigade leaders at the Commune that their new educated youth were causing all kinds of trouble, faking illness, deliberately hurting themselves to avoid work, fighting with villagers. Compared to that, our group was perfect. He was especially impressed with me. My family had asked for special treatment, so he'd expected me to make excuses. Instead, I showed up every day with a good attitude. Slow, yes, but sincere. So, he decided to reward all the new educated youth with easier assignments. After work one day, he kept us behind. My heart immediately sank. Had he found out about G and helping me? Was I about to get scolded in front of everyone? But Zhou Manchong just smiled around his pipe. The corn is almost all harvested. We're giving you new tasks. I exhaled with relief. You girls will work in the storehouse tomorrow, peeling corn husks and shelling kernels, he said. Lily and I exchanged a glance. Sitting down work, indoors. No more corn leaves attacking my face. The 3 boys were assigned to finish picking the remaining corn, much easier than what the other men were doing, which was hacking down corn stalks with sickles all day, bent over until their backs nearly broke. Everyone was happy. Thank you, Uncle Team Leader. On the way back, I spotted Yen standing by the road, his face tense. When he saw me, his expression visibly softened. He gave me a small nod and turned down a side path. I realized he'd been waiting. He'd gotten back before everyone else, noticed I wasn't there, and come out to check. Lily noticed him too. Where's he going? It's almost dark. He's a big, strong man. He'll be fine, I said. Let's hurry back. I knew Yen had secrets. But I could feel in my gut he wasn't a bad person. Whatever he did at night was his own business. Back at the quarters, the old educated youth were in the back garden digging up potatoes and pulling radishes from their private vegetable plot. These would be part of their food supply during winter. Since we newcomers had been eating from those vegetables all week without having planted them, we all pitched in, even Song Xiufang, reluctantly. While pulling radishes, I asked Ma Igua how often we could visit the county town. He said during slow periods, about once every 2 weeks. During busy farming season, we had to wait. But he estimated about 10 more days until fieldwork wrapped up. 10 days. I could manage that. My little kitchen was completely finished now. Zhou Manchong's brother and nephews had done excellent work. 3 walls, a proper straw roof with an overhang for storing firewood. All I needed was an iron wok, and I could start cooking for real. I also had letters to mail, to my parents, to second uncle, and Uncle Chunggang to visit. That night, I lay on the Kong in my pajamas, unable to sleep. Just past 10 o'clock, I heard the faintest sound in the courtyard. I crept to the window and peeked through the gap. Jian's tall silhouette stood before his door in the darkness. I smiled and went back to bed, pulling the quilt over my head. He was home safe. That was all I needed to know. The next morning, I went out back pretending to use the outhouse and ran straight into Jian coming out. We both froze. Not exactly the best place for a chat. I recovered fast, waved, and smiled brightly. Good morning, his dark eyes warmed. Good morning, then he said something unexpected. I have an extra water tank. Do you want it? Yes. Yes, I nodded eagerly. This was a problem I'd been worrying about. My kitchen was finished, but I had no way to store water. The shared water tank was in the communal kitchen. Too inconvenient. I'd asked the brigade leader's wife about buying one, and she told me the clay water tanks were only sold at market fairs, which had been cancelled because of government policy. I'd been stuck.
Yan smiled.
I'll bring it over after work. He paused, then added quietly, I'll carry water for you from now on too. My heart fluttered. He'd noticed I was too small and weak to haul water up from the well. And in winter, with ice everywhere, I could slip and get hurt. Okay, I said softly, my voice going shy. Sitting in my apartment bathroom afterward, I couldn't stop giggling. We just had our sweetest conversation yet, right outside the smelliest outhouse in the village. After breakfast, Lily and I carried our little stools to the brigade storehouse. Today we were peeling corn husks instead of working in the fields. The brigade leader's wife, Annie Hohot, waved us over the moment she saw us and sat us right in the middle of her circle of friends, the party secretary's wife, Annie Juhua the carpenter's wife, and other important village women. Song Xiufang watched from a distance, bitter that nobody invited her over. She found a lonely corner and sat by herself. Earlier, she tried to borrow a stool from the female-educated youth, but Zhang Hongying and the others had practically sprinted away before she could ask. Only Ma Aigua, feeling responsible as team leader, lent her his. She didn't even say thank you. The corn husking was easy, dried husks peeled right off. The aunties heaped praise on Lily and me for being quick workers. Lily blushed, but I accepted the compliments with a straight face. I really was doing well at this one. While we worked, the aunties gossiped. They were curious about my family, so I told them, father at the machinery factory, mother at the textile factory, a married older sister, an older brother serving in the military. Their eyes went wide. A whole family of workers plus a soldier. That was incredible status. Then, someone asked why I'd come to the countryside with such a good background. I put on my most serious face. Our leaders say that we city youth should not fear hardship. We must accept the education of the poor and lower-middle peasants. Roll in the mud, temper our red hearts. I delivered this with perfect conviction, not a twitch on my face. The aunties all gave me thumbs up. This girl is something special. Lily, who knew the real reason, kept her head down, desperately trying not to laugh. Song Xiufang also knew the truth and wanted to expose me, but she didn't dare. These village women would drown her in spit if she badmouthed me. As the day went on, the aunties' gossip got wilder and wilder. Now I understood why people said village women were like intelligence agencies. In just a few hours, I learned more secrets about people's families than I ever needed to know. They were hilarious too. I nearly cried laughing. When the talk drifted to certain adult topics, I had to put on my most innocent, confused expression. I really didn't want to be the girl who understood everything. The day flew by. Lily and I walked back to the quarters, chatting and laughing, carrying our little stools. The moment we stepped into the courtyard, I saw Ji Yan walking out of his kitchen area, carrying a big clay water tank on his shoulder. I shoved my stool into Lily's arms and hurried over to Ji Yan. I'll show you the way to the back, I said. Okay. It was right after work, and every educated youth in the courtyard watched with wide eyes as Ji Yan, a huge water tank on his shoulder, followed obediently behind me around the side of my room to the kitchen. When exactly did those two get so close? That's what they were all thinking. Song Xiufang, of course, was seething with jealousy. In her mind, I must have seduced him. Why else would he pay attention to me and ignore her? She blamed my face, said I looked like a fox spirit. If she'd had my looks, she would have gotten to him first. Ji Yan set the tank down right next to my stove, where I could easily scoop water while cooking. Then he looked at me with soft eyes. Need me to buy you an iron pot? I shook my head. Ma Jiqing says we can go to the county in about 10 days. I have money and coupons. I'll buy one myself. Really, I already had pots in my storage space. I just needed a trip to town as cover.
Good.
Once you have the pot, I'll carry water for you, he said again, making sure I understood the offer was serious. We stood together, tall and short, and the air between us felt warm and tingling. My cheeks flushed pink. I lowered my eyes. Okay, my voice came out impossibly soft. He noticed. I could see the smile forming on his face. He fought some internal battle, then reached out and gently patted the top of my head before walking away. After he left, I pressed both hands to my burning cheeks. That was so sweet it almost hurt. Over the following days, Ji Yen and I fell into a quiet routine. We'd talk briefly every morning and after work each afternoon. It felt completely natural. I was the same as always, sweet and soft-spoken. But he was visibly different. The man who'd barely spoken 10 words to anyone now had a gentle curve to his lips whenever he talked to me, and his eyes had lost their ice. The smarter people at the quarters noticed, but they thought it made sense. Some of the young men in the brigade still blushed when they saw me, but they all understood. A girl like me wasn't going to end up with an ordinary person. Li Jianhua had figured that out too. He'd stopped looking at me. Ji Yen and I matched, everyone could see it. Both refined in our own way, both clearly from good backgrounds. When the storehouse work finished, we got our first day off since autumn harvest began. Everyone was thrilled. Lily clung to my arm, chattering excitedly. Tomorrow I'm treating you to the state-run restaurant. I'm dying for real food. 20-some days of corn buns, porridge, pickles, and cabbage had stripped every trace of oil from her system. Of course, I said, laughing. At least I'd been secretly eating well from my apartment. Without that, I'd be just as desperate. Lily leaned in close.
So,
is Ji Jiqing going with you tomorrow? I answered honestly. I don't know. I haven't asked him yet. And you two are? We'll let things happen naturally, I said with a smile.
it felt comfortable the way it was. No rules.
That evening, I laid out my clothes for tomorrow and packed my letters home into my green bag. Around 8 o'clock, a knock came at my door. It's me, Ji Yan's voice. My face lit up. He stood in the doorway, moonlight falling across his broad shoulders. He spoke quietly. Can you come out? I need to tell you something. We stood by the main gate, facing each other under the moon. I can't go to the county with you tomorrow, he said. I have something to take care of. But when you get back, I want to take you somewhere and show you what I've been doing. Is that okay? My heart leaped. He was going to share his secret with me. Of course, I said. In the moonlight, he reached out and took my hand. His palm was so large it swallowed mine completely. Warm and rough. This was the most intimate thing we'd ever done. I didn't pull away. We stood there, hand in hand, for a quiet moment. Then he let go, reluctantly, and gently patted my hair. Go rest. Early morning tomorrow. I nodded. You too. He watched me walk inside before going back to his own room. I woke up at 5, too excited to sleep any longer. Today we were going to the county town. I slipped into my apartment for breakfast, then came out to the kitchen and started the fire for everyone's porridge. Zhang Hongying found me already sitting by the stove. You're up so early. I'm too excited about the trip to sleep, I said, and she laughed knowingly. She'd felt the same way her first time going to town after arriving in the countryside. Everyone put on their best clothes. I wore the white blouse with red polka dots that Mama had made, black pants, and my nicest leather shoes. My hair was in 2 braids, my forehead smooth and bare. After 20 days of fieldwork, I somehow hadn't tanned at all. The village aunties on the ox cart noticed immediately. Look at that girl. How is she still so white? Annie Hohot defended me. She just doesn't tan. A girl that pretty. I'd feel sorry if she got dark. She waved Lily and me over to seats she'd saved. The men rode the donkey cart. The women took the ox cart. Auntie Hohot handed us sunflower seeds as soon as we sat down. She was heading to the commune to trade eggs for salt at the supply store. Most villagers never went all the way to the county. The round trip cost nearly 1 yuan, enough to buy 6 eggs.
They couldn't justify it.
After an hour of bumping along, we reached the commune. The old cart driver reminded us, the ox cart leaves at 5. Miss it and you're walking home. We took a bus the rest of the way. By the time we reached the county, it was nearly 10. The group split up. I needed to visit Uncle Chung Gang at the Public Security Bureau compound first. The other women agreed to meet me at the state-run restaurant for lunch. The streets looked nothing like the modern world I'd known. Everything gray, covered in political slogans, people hurrying past with serious faces. A heavy, solemn feeling hung in the air. I ducked into an empty alley and pulled a bag from my storage space. Inside were gifts for Uncle Chung Gang's family, a jean of brown sugar, a jean of walnut cookies, a bag of milk candies, and 2 jean of pork belly for my space. The compound was easy to find. An old man sat in the guard booth at the gate. "Who are you looking for, miss?" A public security officer named Chung Gang. "I'm his niece." The old man looked puzzled. He knew Deputy Director Chung had nephews but no niece. He went inside to check. A few minutes later, Uncle Chung Gang came striding out in casual clothes. "Uncle Chung." "Over here." I stood on my tiptoes and waved. "There you are. I was wondering when you'd come." He turned to the guard. "Old Zhang, this is my niece. Next time she comes, let her straight in." I handed him my bag of gifts. He tried to refuse, but I insisted. "It's my first visit. I can't come empty-handed, or I'll be too embarrassed to come back." He laughed and accepted. "Come on, let's go inside." As we walked through the compound, he introduced me to everyone we passed. "This is my niece," beaming with pride. They all complimented how pretty I was. I just smiled and nodded, all the way to his front door. Uncle Chung Gang had a nice 3-bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor of the public security compound. Warm and well-furnished. He sat me on the sofa and poured me water. "Stay for lunch. Your auntie went visiting a neighbor. She'll be back soon." Before I could refuse, the front door burst open. A middle-aged woman rushed in, eyes lighting up the moment she saw me. "Oh my goodness. Sister Wang just told me old Chung brought his pretty niece home." So I ran right back. She sat down beside me, grabbed my hands, and beamed. "You must be Yuzhu. You're absolutely lovely." This was Auntie Huang Yume, Uncle Chung Gang's wife. She'd heard all about me. Our husband had gone to the brigade to check on me, how he'd come home raving about what a well-raised girl the Yi family had. "Your voice is so sweet," she said. "So soft. Nothing like us loud northerners." We chatted for a while, and I could tell she genuinely liked me. When she realized it was almost 11, she jumped up to cook lunch. But I stopped her. I'd promised to meet the other educated youth at the state-run restaurant. She looked disappointed. Uncle Chung Gang understood, though. "Next time you must stay for a meal." "I promise," I said. Before I could leave, Annie Huang sent Uncle Chung Gang running into the bedroom. He came back with canned food. Their eldest son was a soldier in the south and had sent it as a local specialty. He also tucked in 5 jean of white flour, thinking I'd need something better than corn and sweet potatoes now that I was cooking on my own. They walked me all the way out of the compound gates. On the way back, Annie Huang sighed. Why would a family send such a wonderful girl to the countryside? Uncle Chung Gang exhaled. Oldie mentioned it once. They had no choice. When Annie Huang opened my gift bag at home, she found the 2 jean of premium pork belly and nearly lost her mind. Old Chung, come here. She held up the meat. This child must have used her own meat coupons for us. Uncle Chung Gang slapped his thigh. That girl is too generous. Next time you visit her, bring more, Annie Huang said firmly. Meanwhile, I ducked into an empty alley and pulled an iron pot from my storage space. I'd wrapped it in straw rope the night before to make it look like a regular purchase. If anyone asked, I'd say Uncle Chung Gang helped me get it. I slung the pot on my back, grabbed my bag, and headed for the restaurant. The educated youth were all waiting outside. The girls rushed over. Yuzhu, you're back. Oh, you got a pot. Uncle Chung arranged it for me. I gave him the money and coupons today, I said casually. Everyone was a little envious. Connections and money really did make things easier. Lily took my bag, so I didn't have to carry everything. We went inside. The men sat at one table, the women at another. Lily studied the menu board and ordered stir-fried pork, a vegetable dish called 3 Treasures of the Earth, and 2 liang of rice. Then she pulled out her money and coupons with a determined look. Today I'm treating you. Don't you dare argue. I laughed. I won't. Next time it's my turn. She bounced off to pay, grinning ear to ear. Zhang Hongying and the other women couldn't afford as much. They each ordered a bowl of pork noodle soup. But they ate it with pure bliss on their faces. For them, it was the finest meal in weeks. I noticed Song Xiufang wasn't with us. Her family hadn't given her enough money for a restaurant meal. That morning I'd seen her tuck a corn bun into her pocket. After the meal, we strolled out of the restaurant, stuffed and happy. Lily rubbed her belly lazily. I wish I could eat like this every day. Zhang Hongying tapped her on the head. Dream on. Once a year is lucky. Back to corn and sweet potatoes for us, Lily pouted. Hongying, I was just fantasizing. Don't be so cruel. Now the meat I just ate doesn't even taste good anymore. Everyone burst out laughing.
Guo Xiaoxia looked at me.
Yuzhu, weren't you going to call your parents? Let's go to the post office. I nodded. And mail some letters too. I walked to the post office, still carrying the iron pot on my back. With so many people around, I couldn't sneak it back into my space. I must have looked ridiculous, but there was nothing I could do. At the post office, the others went to mail their letters while I headed straight for the telephone. I knew both my parents' office numbers by heart. I called Mama first. After being transferred a few times, her familiar voice came through the line. Hello, this is. My eyes went red instantly. Mama, it's me. Yuzhu. You finally called. It's been over 20 days. She sounded so excited, almost breathless. She told me she'd barely slept those first few days after I left. Only after second uncle called to say his friend had checked on me did she calm down a little. I told her about the countryside. The work wasn't too hard, I was getting used to it, and I was setting up my own kitchen to cook for myself. Cook for yourself? She sounded confused. The old me didn't know how to cook. I've learned. The brigade leader had a kitchen built for me, and I bought a pot today. I'll start cooking when I get back. I could hear pride and heartache mixed together in her voice. Her daughter was growing up. Good girl. Mama will send you food, money, and coupons. Buy whatever you want. Don't go without. Thank you, Mama. Don't say thank you, silly. You're a daughter. This is what we should do. She reminded me she'd be mailing my thick winter coat, heavy quilt, and warm cotton shoes in the next couple of days. The north was about to get cold. When I mentioned I'd already visited Uncle Chungang with gifts, she laughed. Well done, Yuzhu. You really have grown up. We chatted about everything, neither of us wanting to hang up. Then I called Papa. He was just as happy to hear my voice and asked about every little detail. Don't work too hard out there, he said. Just do enough to get by. Taking care of your health comes first. I know, Papa. You take care of yourself too. He melted at that. If you need anything at all, tell Mama and me. We'll get it to you. I know, I said. Besides my storage space, my loving family was my greatest source of strength. After hanging up, I bought 2 stamps and mailed 3 letters, one to my parents and one to second uncle down south. I would have called him, but I didn't have his number, and both he and his wife were busy people. Letters were easier. Outside the post office, it was almost 1 o'clock. I turned to the girls. I need to go to the grocery store for cooking supplies. Want to come? Of course, Lily said immediately. Zhang Hongying nodded. We'll all go. We can help you carry things. I grinned. Great. Today you're all my hired workers. When we get back, I'll cook you something delicious. Guo Xiaoxia pointed at me. You said it. No taking it back. A promise is a promise, I declared, thumping my chest, forgetting I still had the iron pot strapped to my back. The pose looked so absurd that even the usually calm Zhang Hongying cracked up. Within seconds, all 5 of us were doubled over laughing. Come on, let's go, I said, wiping my eyes. We linked arms and headed for the store, 5 girls in a row. At the grocery store, I stood at the counter pulling money and coupons from my bag one after another. I'd sorted through my tickets the night before and used up all the ones close to expiring. I bought 2 jean of pork belly, 1 jean of lean meat, marveling at the prices, only 7 or 8 mao per jean. Then cooking oil, rice, eggs, scallions, ginger, garlic, dried chili, soy sauce, vinegar, and a few sets of bowls and chopsticks. I had all of this in my space, of course, but I needed to buy some first so I'd have a believable source when I use things later. The girls watched me spend money without blinking and their hearts ached, and it wasn't even their money. Guaxiaoxia's face was pure agony. At the supply cooperative, I bought fruit candy, egg cake, walnut cookies, rice crackers, and 2 jars of snow cream. The girls saw me buy skincare and couldn't resist getting 1 jar each. We're all girls. Nobody doesn't care about looking nice. Outside, I handed each of them a fistful of candy, a piece of egg cake, and a walnut cookie. Without them carrying everything, I'd never have managed alone. Xiaoxia tucked her candy and cookies away like a little hamster, then flexed her arm at me. Next time you need a pack mule, call me. I've got the muscles. I squeezed her bicep. Deal. Before heading to the bus, I announced to all the educated youth, tomorrow I'm starting my own kitchen. I'll cook dinner for everyone, consider it a housewarming party. I'd been here almost a month. Except for Song Xiufang, I got along well with everyone. 1 meal was something I could afford, and sometimes sharing matters as much as saving. Everyone was touched. Zhang Honging offered to help cook. The boys promised to bring firewood. Song Xiufang had arrived last, clutching a patched bag behind her back, hiding whatever she'd bought. Nobody cared to look. After the bumpy rides back, bus to the Commune, then ox cart to the village, we pulled up to the educated youth quarters around 6, the sky already darkening. A tall figure stood at the gate.
Yan.
His eyes found me immediately on the cart. I hopped down and said matter-of-factly, I bought a lot of stuff. Carry it in for me. The other educated youth took 1 look at us and scattered inside to wash up. Even Song Xiufang fled. Only the old cart driver watched us with a blank expression. Ji Yan smiled slightly. Okay, he swung the iron pot onto 1 shoulder, gathered every single bag into his 2 large hands, and lifted everything at once. The cart was empty in seconds. The old driver nodded approvingly. Of all the educated youth, this quiet one had the most strength and the most helpful heart. Ji Yan carried everything around to my little kitchen and set the pot on the stove. Perfect fit. He looked down at me. Tomorrow I'll get some yellow clay and seal around the edges. Then it's ready to use. I didn't know anything about that, so I just nodded. Whatever you say. He reached out and gently touched my braid. Are you tired? I looked up into his eyes. Not at all. Then let me take you somewhere. Sure. Wait while I put these things inside. I ran around to unlock my front door, then opened the back door from inside. Ji Yan's gaze drifted past me into the room. He couldn't help it. I gave him a slightly mischievous smile. Want to come in and look around? He smiled back and gently tapped my forehead with his finger. Not today. Next time. I stashed everything inside quickly. Wait for me out front. I need to lock up. I shut the back door, came around, locked the front, and we walked out of the educated youth quarters together. We left the educated youth quarters and took a small path where nobody walked. It was already 7, the moon rising, the village quiet except for the distant sound of someone scolding a child. Ji Yan held my hand tightly as we walked. Watch your step. Where are you taking me? Guess. How would I know what's in your head? His low laugh echoed in the darkness.
Don't worry.
I won't sell you. You wouldn't dare. No, I wouldn't. He led me through winding paths until we reached a rundown thatched hut in a remote spot. The air smelled like animal waste. I had a guess about what this was. Ji Yan stopped, closed his eyes for a moment, concentrating on something, then knocked on the door in a specific pattern. An old voice said, "Come in." Inside, a dim oil lamp lit the room. An elderly man with a thin but alert face stared at me, then turned on Ji Yan with a sharp whisper. Reckless. What are you thinking bringing a girl here? Ji Yan stepped forward, still holding my hand. Elder Fu, I know what I'm doing. I just want her to meet you tonight. I won't bring her again. Then he turned to me, his voice soft. Yuzhu, this is Grandpa Fu. He watched me grow up. I smiled warmly.
Hello, Grandpa Fu.
I'm Yuzhu, an educated youth here too. The old man's stern expression melted. He pulled something wrapped in silk from his pocket and pressed it into my hand. Girl, I don't have much. Consider this a meeting gift. I looked at Ji Yan. He nodded. Grandpa Fu gives it, you keep it? Thank you, Grandpa Fu. The old man shooed us out almost immediately. Go, go. This is no place for you. At the door, Ji Yan promised to bring him supplies soon, but Grandpa Fu waved him off. I don't need anything. Just take care of yourself and this girl. The door slammed shut. On the walk back, I couldn't hold in my questions. Ji Yan, that was? Yes. What you're thinking. He told me Grandpa Fu was his grandfather's close friend, sent here last winter. The brigade leaders were decent people and hadn't mistreated him. Then it hit me. Ma Igua had said Ji Yan also arrived last winter. I turned to stare at him. I'd originally guessed Ji Yan might be the child of someone important who'd been sent away, someone who'd cut ties with family to protect them. But now I realized his situation might be far more complicated than that. He read the shock in my eyes, smiled, and patted my head. Yuzhu is clever. We didn't say it out loud, but we both understood. Near the educated youth quarters, Ji Yan pulled me under a large tree. He bent down, placed both hands on my shoulders, and looked into my eyes with an intensity that made my heart race. Yuzhu, tonight I brought you to meet Grandpa Fu. Now I want to ask you something. What? He took a deep breath. Yuzhu, from my last life to this one, you're the first girl who has ever made my heart move. From the moment I first saw you, I spent 2 days thinking it over. During those 2 days, I had someone look into your background. Before the report even came back, I couldn't stop myself from getting closer to you. Slowly, I fell deeper and deeper. Now I want to ask, will you be my partner? My revolutionary companion? For a lifetime? Every word drifted into my ears like something from a dream. The fact that he'd investigated my background didn't bother me. In this era, with his identity, that was the sensible thing to do. It showed me he was careful and steady, not the type to let emotions cloud his judgment. He watched my frozen expression, and his face fell slightly. He thought he'd rush things. Then I said it. I'm willing. His dark eyes exploded with light. Really? I laughed. Of course, really. I don't usually lie. He pulled me into his arms and held me so tight. This is wonderful, he whispered. I hugged him back. I was so happy. I finally had a boyfriend, and such an incredible one. Wait, I said into his chest. You said from your last life to this one, I'm the only girl you've ever felt this way about. How do you know about your last life? He buried his face in my neck, breathing in. I just know. I smiled. Maybe he was like me, someone who'd crossed over from another time. But I let it go. Whether it was the truth or just sweet talk, it sounded wonderful. We held each other for a long time before letting go. He walked me to my door, stroking my hair. Tomorrow I'll tell the brigade leader you don't need to work. Stay and rest. I'll come back and seal the pot for you. I leaned into his hand. Okay. In the moonlight, I looked up at his handsome face. Whatever you're doing out there, I won't ask. But please be safe. Now that I have you, he said quietly, I would never put myself in danger. My heart flooded with sweetness.
Go rest.
I'm sleepy. I waved goodbye and closed the door. I listened to his footsteps fade across the courtyard. Then I lost all composure. I flashed into my apartment, threw myself onto the sofa, and rolled around screaming into the cushions. I have a boyfriend. I was so incredibly happy. Across the courtyard, Ji Yan lay on his Kong, just as unable to sleep, his eyes shining with a joy too big for words. The next morning my body woke me around 5:30 out of habit. The room was pitch dark, and I could hear rain pattering outside.
Then
I remembered Yen had told me not to work today. I pulled the blanket over my head and went right back to sleep. The rain stopped around 8. Outside my door, Lily was about to knock when Ji Yan's voice stopped her.
Don't.
Let her sleep longer. He told her he'd go to the brigade leader to get me excused from work, then rode off on his bicycle, a sleek flying pigeon that made every villager's jaw drop. The whole brigade only had one bike at headquarters, reserved for leaders going to Commune meetings. Ji Yan just casually owned one. At the brigade office, Zhou Manchong stared at Ji Yan when he came to request time off for me. She's my girlfriend, Ji Yan said simply. The brigade leader nearly swallowed his pipe.
Since when?
The man who'd rejected every girl for a solid year was suddenly in a relationship? Ji Yan didn't wait for a reaction. He nodded and left. He had things to do. I finally woke up around 10, well rested and cozy. The moment I sat up, cold air hit me, and I dove back under the covers. Autumn had arrived overnight. One rain, and the temperature dropped sharply. I bundled up in a khaki wool coat Mama had bought me last year, perfect for this weather. The courtyard was empty and quiet. Everyone was at work. I went into my apartment, washed up, and made myself a bowl of beef noodle soup for breakfast, protein, vegetables, carbs, perfectly balanced. While eating, I unwrapped the gift Grandpa Fu had given me last night. Inside the old silk cloth was a jade pendant, carved from the finest mutton fat jade, clearly antique and extremely valuable. My foster father had taught me to recognize quality. I'd need to prepare a proper return gift for Grandpa Fu. After breakfast, I checked my kitchen. In the daylight, I noticed the woodshed under the eaves was stacked full of firewood, and the water tank was filled to the brim. Yen had done all of this. My heart felt warm and sweet. Tonight, I was hosting dinner for the educated youth. I planned to make mixed flour steamed buns, but I was low on corn flour. Time to visit Auntie Ho-Hot. I packed half a jean of brown sugar into a basket and walked to the brigade leader's house, about 10 minutes away. It was the nicest house in the village, half green brick, half mud brick, with a large courtyard. The gate was open. A pregnant woman was washing clothes inside. She looked up and recognized me immediately, rushing over to welcome me in. This was Zhang Shuyun, Auntie Ho-Hot's second daughter-in-law. She called for her mother-in-law with a booming voice. "Ma, educated youth he is here." Auntie Ho-Hot hurried out from the back, where she'd been tending her chickens. I handed her the brown sugar directly. No beating around the bush. "Auntie, I'm starting my own kitchen. Could I trade this for some corn flour?" Her eyes and her daughter-in-law's eyes both lit up at the sight of brown sugar. In the countryside, it was precious beyond measure. "Of course. I'll give you 5 jean of corn flour, plus some cabbage, potatoes, and pumpkin." She was generous, vegetables on top of the flour. I could have traded with anyone, but I chose her family deliberately. Building this relationship mattered. I carried home 5 jean of corn flour, 2 heads of cabbage, 2 jean of potatoes, and a 3 jean pumpkin. Meanwhile, Jian had biked 3 hours to the county town. His first stop was the post office, to call his family. In Beijing, Jian called his family from the county post office. His grandfather picked up. "You rascal, you finally call home." It had been almost a year. His grandfather roughly knew what Jian had been doing, but worried constantly, without hearing from him. Jian apologized, then dropped his real news. "Grandpa, I have a girlfriend." "What?" His grandfather shot upright on the sofa so fast that his grandmother came down from upstairs scolding him. "You're too old to be yelling like that." I nearly stabbed myself with my sewing needle, but Grandpa couldn't be bothered with her just then. "Are you sure? You're not lying to me." Of the 3 brothers in their generation, Jian had always been the least popular with girls, walking around like a human, keep away sign. Hearing he was actually dating someone was hard to believe. "Grandpa, I wouldn't make this up. Her name is Yuzhu. She's from Shanghai, a newly arrived educated youth. She's 17. 17? Grandpa's voice turned suspicious. "She's not even an adult. You didn't trick this girl, did you?" Jian felt a twinge of guilt about the age gap, but stood firm. "Grandpa, am I that kind of person? I'll wait for her to grow up." Grandpa exhaled in relief. The Ji family had always been upright. No deceiving or pressuring anyone. Then Grandma snatched the phone. "Is she pretty?" She caught herself immediately. "I mean, even if she's not, as long as you like her and she's a good person, Grandma accepts everything." Jian smiled. His grandmother was wonderful, but had always been a bit superficial about looks. "Grandma, Yuzhu is very beautiful. You'll definitely love her." Grandma beamed. "When are you bringing her home?" "Not yet. I need to meet her family in Shanghai first." "That's the respectful way." Grandma nodded approvingly and launched into advice. "You're much older than her, don't bully her. Do all the heavy work. Be considerate. She's young and far from home. It's not easy for her." Jian listened obediently, feeling like his status in the family had already plummeted before I'd even married in. He mentioned taking me to meet Grandpa Fu, who'd given me a meeting gift. Grandma sighed when she heard about old Fu. "Take good care of him." Then she added, "We already have a meeting gift prepared for our granddaughter-in-law." Whenever you bring her home, we'll give it to her. After hanging up, Ji Yen biked out of town. He tried calling his parents, but they hadn't answered. He asked Grandma to pass along the news. Around 4 in the afternoon, I was hanging freshly washed clothes in the courtyard when I saw him pushing his bicycle through the gate. My eyes lit up. "Ah, Yen, you're back." He smiled at my nickname for him like he'd tasted honey. He parked the bike by my door, then reached over and pinched my cheek. Soft, smooth, he looked deeply satisfied. I swatted his hand away. "No touching. I want to." He flicked the tip of my nose. I glared at him, but it had zero effect. This man had changed overnight. Before, he'd seemed so serious and proper. Now there was a mischievous streak I hadn't expected. He patted my head. "I bought you things." That shifted my attention instantly. "What things?" He pulled a huge bag off the back of his bicycle and started unloading. Walnut cookies, rice crackers, fried dough twists, biscuits, milk candies, fruit drops, brown sugar, egg, cake, 2 tins of malted milk powder, 2 cans of fruit, 2 hair ribbons, and 2 jars of snow cream. Spread out on the ground, it looked like a small mountain. He gazed at me softly. "Use these for now. Someday, when we go to a bigger city, I'll buy you even better things." I stared at the pile, stunned and warm inside. "Okay. Help me carry it all in." "Okay." For once, his answer came quick and eager. It was Jian's first time in my room. He looked around, everything neat and tidy, smelling nice. He put the snacks in my con cabinet while I stored the hair ribbons and snow cream in my wardrobe. Then he noticed my window. I brought back 2 pieces of glass. "I'll install them tomorrow." "Really?" I grabbed his sleeve, thrilled. I'd been wanting glass windows but couldn't find any in the countryside. He wrapped his arm around my waist. "You're my girlfriend now. These things are my job." I leaned against his broad chest. Safe and warm. After a quiet moment, he let go. There was work to do, sealing my stove with yellow clay. We dug up fine soil from the back garden, mixed it with water, and he packed it around the edges of the pot while I watched. Half an hour later, the gaps were filled. "Once the clay dries, you can use it," he said. My face fell. "But I'm cooking dinner for everyone tonight," he laughed. "You forgot. I have a kitchen too." "Use mine." I smacked my own forehead. "Of course." His kitchen was huge, a full 10-square-meter room where he'd torn out the old Kong for more space. Compared to my tiny 2-square-meter corner, it was a palace. Smoked wild pheasant, rabbit, and cured meat hung from the walls. Everything was organized and well-stocked. A home that belonged to someone who knew how to live. "I'll give you a key," he said, seeing my envious face. "Come cook here whenever you want." He handed me a spare key, and I tucked it away happily. "From today, we eat together," he said. "I can cook too. You just help me." I raised my chin. "Don't underestimate me. I'm a good cook, maybe even better than you." Then we cooked together. I handed him the corn flour and white flour. "Your job is kneading dough and steaming buns. You've got the strength for it." He set up a big wooden basin and got to work. I took out the pork belly and started slicing it for stir-fry with potatoes. He passed me his cutting board and cleaver. I tried lifting it. Yen, this knife is so heavy." "Wait." Then, right before my eyes, he produced a light, modern-looking kitchen knife out of thin air. "Use this one." I stared at him. My pupils were shaking. He smiled. "Scared?" I steadied myself quickly. No, if I could have supernatural experiences, so could he. Then I reached into my own space and pulled out 2 plain aprons. "Yen, put this on." He took the apron, looked at me with eyes full of emotion, and said seriously, "Yuzhu, our fate together is rare. Now that we've found each other, we stay together. Always." I smiled brightly.
Yes.
Always. While we cooked, he told me his story. He'd been born with faint memories of a previous life that grew clearer as he got older. In that world, zombies roamed the earth. People lived in fortified bases, and some awakened special abilities. He'd had mental powers and extraordinary strength, fighting to protect ordinary people. He died on a mission and was reborn into this world. As he grew up here, his abilities slowly returned, along with a storage space containing weapons from his old life. The abilities never fully recovered due to this world's limitations, but he was still far beyond any normal person. Within his range, his mental power let him sense everything around him, every person, every movement. At 16, with his family's support, he'd joined the military. He'd completed countless dangerous missions and spent 3 years fighting on the southern border. His assignment to Xinguang Brigade wasn't just about protecting Grandpa Fu. He was also searching for something hidden in the mountains. That's why he kept to himself, to move freely. Now he looked at me, grateful. If he hadn't been the one sent here, we might never have met. When he finished, I nodded calmly. I see. So, he'd known my secret since my very first day at the educated youth quarters. His mental powers would have detected my space immediately. And you, Yuzhu? I told him everything. The jade pendant, the countdown, the storage space crossing over, and my suspicion that I might have always been the real Yuzhu. He wiped the flour from his hands, walked over, and looked at me with absolute seriousness. Yuzhu, this must stay between us. Only you and I can ever know. His own family didn't even know about his memories or his powers. Obviously, I said. If anyone found out, we'd be. I drew a finger across my throat and stuck out my tongue. He burst out laughing. I'm not stupid, he softened. You're right. I worried for nothing. Yuzhu is the smartest. I put my hands on my hips. Stop sweet-talking me and go steam those buns. Yes, ma'am. Around 6, the educated youth came back from work. The girls peeked into Ji Yan's kitchen and saw him sitting by the stove, tending the fire. Yuzhu, what can we help with? They whispered. I handed them 2 heads of cabbage and the pumpkin. Wash the cabbage and steam the pumpkin in the main kitchen. They scurried off happily. Then Song Xiufeng crept over, eyes hopeful, voice small and careful. Yuzhu, I can help too. My smile vanished.
No.
There's nothing for you here. She glared at my back with hatred. But before she could think another bitter thought, Ji Yan's ice-cold gaze hit her like a blade. She looked up, met his eyes, and ran. Actually ran. Later she said his stare was like looking at a corpse, terrifying. She couldn't believe I wasn't scared of him. The second she disappeared, his expression switched instantly to warm and soft. Yuzhu, the buns are done. Do you want to do the stir-fry, or should I? I rolled up my sleeves. I'll do it. Time to show you what I've got. He smiled and started pulling the steamed buns out, about 20 of them piled in a big bamboo tray. 2 steamers worth for a dozen people. I laid everything out on the counter. Sliced pork belly, potato slices, scallions, ginger, garlic, dried chili. A scoop of lard went into the hot wok, then the pork to render its fat. In went the aromatics and chilies. The smell that poured out of that kitchen was devastating. In the courtyard, the educated youth were swallowing so hard I could practically hear them. If they hadn't been too proud, they'd have been pressed against the door, drooling. I tossed in the potatoes, let them get crispy and golden, then called out. Ayen, lower the fire. He pulled some wood from the stove and tamped it out. I scooped up a piece of pork and potato with the spatula. Quick, taste this. He took a bite and gave me a thumbs up. Amazing. Really delicious. I beamed with pride. Told you I was good. The pork and potatoes filled 2 big bowls. Lily brought the washed cabbage, and I made a quick vinegar-braised version that also turned out fragrant and glossy. 2 plates of that. We carried everything to the main kitchen. The steamed pumpkin was already done. The big dining table was loaded with food. A mountain of buns, 2 huge bowls of meat and potatoes, 2 plates of cabbage. Every educated youth was standing, waiting for us. Nobody sat until we did. It was Ji Yan's first time eating in the communal kitchen, and everyone seemed a little nervous around him. Ma, Igwa waved us in. Sit, he glanced around. Song Xiufeng wasn't there. Perfect. No need to waste my breath. I pulled Ji Yan down beside me, then looked at everyone and smiled. While we're all here, I want to announce something. Ji Yan and I are together now. Under the table, Ji Yan squeezed my hand. His deep voice followed, warm with happiness. That's right. Yuzhu is my girlfriend. I bit my lip to keep from grinning too wide and secretly traced a circle on his palm. Nobody was truly surprised. They'd all noticed the signs. But hearing it officially made them genuinely happy. Congratulations came from every direction. Li Jianhua sat off to the side, watching us. We looked perfect together, he could see that. Something in his expression eased. He joined in the well-wishes too. Some people, he'd realized, were simply never meant for him. The girls all gave me knowing, teasing looks. I felt heat rising to my cheeks. Jian showed everyone his first real smile since arriving at the brigade. He accepted their congratulations graciously, then said, "Let's eat." He placed a bun in front of me first, then picked up a piece of pork with his chopsticks and put it in my bowl. Everyone dug in. Lily took one bite of the bun and gasped. "This is delicious." "Yuzhu, why does it taste sweet?" "Because I mixed in white flour," I said. "No wonder it's so good," everyone was saying between bites. Gua Xiaoxia couldn't even swallow before she started recommending the pork to the others. Zhou Yunwan laughed at her. "Of course meat tastes good, silly. It's not just the meat," Xiaoxia insisted. "Yuzhu's cooking has something extra. It's just better." Zhang Hongying summed it up simply. Yuzhu uses real amounts of oil. That's why. Everyone laughed, and I couldn't help laughing too. The first time I'd cooked lunch at the shared kitchen, I'd poured oil straight from the bottle into the wok. Zhang Hongying and the others had nearly fainted. They usually just dabbed a greasy cloth across the pan and called it done. After that, whenever it was my cooking shift, they let me handle the fire while someone else did the actual frying. Now that I had my own kitchen, the 4 remaining women split neatly into 2 pairs. Problem solved. Ji Yan sat beside me the whole meal, barely speaking but taking care of me the entire time, refilling my bowl, picking up food for me. His presence was impossible to ignore. In the dormitory, Song Xiufang lay on her bed listening to our laughter through the walls. She pulled her blanket over her head to block it out. After dinner, the girls kicked me out of the kitchen and told me they'd handle cleanup. I reminded them the bowls and plates belonged to Ah Yen, then trotted over to his kitchen. He was already tidying up. I rolled up my sleeves to help, but he pushed a stool toward me.
"Seat."
"I've got it." So I sat and kept him company. "Ah Yen, who taught you to cook?" "My dad." "Your dad?" I was surprised. Most men in this era didn't cook, not because they couldn't, but because it never occurred to them. "My mom can't cook," he explained. "My dad learned, so he could win her over." "It's not just me, my 2 older brothers can cook too." His parents had grown up together. He remembered his dad bragging to the 3 brothers when they were little. "I caught you, mother, with my cooking skills." So whenever his father was home, he trained all 3 sons in the kitchen so they'd have a useful skill for winning wives someday. "Your dad is amazing." I gave a thumbs up. I was getting really curious about this man.
Yan smiled.
"I'll take you to meet him someday." I felt my cheeks flush. "Meeting parents? That's way too early," he chuckled low. "Whenever you're ready. You decide." I could tell from his tone that he'd already made up his mind. I humphed and changed the subject. Meanwhile, though I didn't know it yet, back in Beijing, Ji Yan's parents had just arrived home. His father, Ji Tsongqian, was a tall, imposing military man who cooked dinner for his wife every chance he got. His mother, Shen Yunqin, was elegant and composed. The moment they walked in, Grandma grabbed her daughter-in-law's hand. "Xiao Yan called today. He has a girlfriend." Both parents were stunned. Their youngest son had rejected every matchmaking attempt for years. When they'd pushed too hard, he'd flat out said he'd never marry. They'd eventually given up and left it to fate. Now this. His mother sat down with Grandma immediately, asking a dozen questions at once.
"Who is she? How old?
When is he bringing her home?" Grandma recited everything with a face full of joy. "Her name is Yuzhu, from Shanghai. A newly arrived educated youth. 17. He said she's very beautiful." His mother smiled. "Beauty is secondary. What matters is character." Grandma defended her grandson.
"You know Xiao Yan.
His judgment is razor sharp. If he chose this girl, she's the real thing." That was true. Ji Yan had never once been wrong about people. His father sat down beside his wife and said calmly, "See? You don't need to worry about him anymore." When the right person showed up, he found her himself. His mother shot him a look. A mother never stops worrying. Of the 3 sons, Ji Yan was the one who'd chosen to follow in the family's footsteps. He joined the army at 16, fought on the front lines for 3 years, and spent recent years on mysterious assignments she couldn't ask about. She'd always worried about him being alone out there with no one to talk to. Now he'd found someone. She was truly, deeply happy. When I woke up, it felt even colder than yesterday. I pulled on a cashmere thermal undershirt before heading out. Across the courtyard, Ayen was already in his kitchen making porridge, wearing nothing but a thin shirt with his sleeves rolled up. "Aren't you cold?" I asked. He shook his head. "I run hot." I told him I had wool sweaters he could use, my foster father's old clothes that I'd brought along, some never even worn. He smiled and said he'd let me know. Breakfast was wonderful. Silky steamed egg custard drizzled with sesame oil, thick millet porridge, and pickled vegetables he'd traded for with a clean-looking family in the village. Everything was warm and comforting. After we ate, he came to install the glass windows in my room. I buzzed around him like a little bee, asking a million questions about how everything worked. He answered every single one patiently. "How did you learn all these skills?" He looked up. "You don't need to learn this. You just look at it once and figure it out." I deflated a little. He laughed softly. "You don't need to learn any of it. You have me." The windows went in quickly. He even made hooks on both sides of the wall for curtains. When I stood inside and looked out through the glass, sunlight poured in for the first time. The room was bright and warm instead of dark and gloomy. I was so happy I threw myself into his arms, pressing against his chest. Ayen, you're amazing," he held me, and something glinted in his eyes. "If I'm so amazing, don't I deserve a reward?" "A reward?" I looked up, confused. His gaze dropped to my lips. His voice went rough. Before I could think, his large hand cradled the back of my neck, and his lips were on mine.
Soft. Warm.
It was my first kiss. He was gentle at first, then slowly pulled me deeper. But our height difference, he was 187 centimeters, I was only 162, made it difficult. My neck ached from tilting up, and my toes hurt from standing on them. I tried to push him away. He felt me pulling back and simply lifted me up, wrapping my legs around his waist. He wasn't stopping. Behind the closed curtains and locked door, the only sounds were rustling fabric and the soft, sticky sounds that made my whole face burn. When it finally ended, he sat on the edge of the Kong, breathing hard, the tips of his ears bright red. I was curled in his lap, face buried in his neck, too embarrassed to look at him. After a long moment, I peeked out. "Are you okay now?" His hand traced slowly down my back. His dark eyes looked deeply satisfied. "I'm fine." I sat up, my face still flaming, and pointed at him with as much authority as I could manage. "You are not allowed to be improper with me." My voice came out more breathy than stern. Something flickered dangerously in his eyes again. He cupped my face in both hands and pressed his lips to my forehead. "I promise. Nothing beyond this before we're married. But kisses and hugs are non-negotiable." He tasted the sweetness now. There was no going back to keeping his distance. I bit my lip and nodded. He pulled me close again.
"I'm sorry."
"I got carried away today. Next time, you say stop and I stop." "Okay." I nestled against him, arms around his waist. "Okay." Truthfully, I liked being close to him. It was just that this was my first relationship, my first time being this intimate with anyone. I'd only ever watched from the sidelines before. Now that it was my turn, it was a little overwhelming. But I'd get used to it. Later, he checked the clay seal around my stove. "Nearly dry. You can use it tonight." I was thrilled. My own kitchen was finally ready. For lunch, we cooked in his kitchen, shredded potatoes, steamed red sausage from Uncle Chungang, and braised beef shank I'd prepared. A feast. In the afternoon, Ayen told me he needed to go out. He'd also visit Grandpa Fu that evening and bring him food. I squeezed his hand. "Be careful. I'll steam some buns for you to take to Grandpa Fu," I offered. I didn't insist on going with him. He'd be safer alone.
"Sure.
Make whatever you think is right." After Ayen left, I locked my door and went into my apartment. With the dough mixer, gas stove, and steamers, making buns was easy. I made about 10 big ones with mixed flour, then braised a pot of beef, duck parts, seaweed, and lotus root. Some beef would go to Grandpa Fu. The rest was for Ah Yen and me. Around 4, the educated youth came back early. The brigade leader had let them off so everyone could gather firewood for winter. They found me sitting under my eaves, daydreaming. Yuzhu, we're going to the mountain foot to collect pine needles. Wanna come? My eyes lit up. Yes, I had plenty of branches and logs, but no pine needles for kindling. I changed out of my nice wool coat into a rough work jacket, strapped on my wicker basket, pulled on gloves, and joined the girls. The whole village was heading the same direction. Adults, children, everyone with baskets on their backs. Guxiaoxia urged us to hurry. If the villagers get there first, there'll be nothing left. We broke into a jog. I was grateful for my healthy body and the special water. Otherwise, I'd never have kept up. The ground was already swarming with people when we arrived. We found a spot and got to work. I watched the others and copied their technique. Grab a handful, stuff it in the basket, stomp it down with your foot. Fill it up, run home. Dump it out, run back. I poured my first full load into my kitchen corner and wiped the sweat from my forehead. What a feeling of accomplishment. Yuzhu, hurry up. We're going again. No time for feelings. On the second trip, the lower areas were cleaned out, so we followed the crowd deeper up the mountain. Zhang Hongying warned Lily and me about wild boars. Someone had been hurt a couple years back. Xiaoxia added there might be wolves. Lily turned pale. Hongyingjia reassured us wolves stayed in the deep mountains and we'd be fine. I thought about Ah Yen searching for something up there. With his abilities, he could handle wolves.
Probably.
While raking pine needles with a stick, I hit something round. I picked it up. Oval, brown, with layers of open scales like a little tower. Hongyingjia, what's this? She glanced over. A pine cone. There are pine nuts inside. You can eat them. I pried open a few scales and found tiny brown nuts. They look like the pine nuts I used to eat as snacks. I tossed the cone in my basket and kept finding more, over a dozen by the end. Back at the quarters, Ah Yen was already standing in the courtyard, staring at my closed door. Li Jianhua told him helpfully, "Educated youth, you went to collect pine needles." Ah Yen nodded once and headed straight for the mountain. He moved fast and soon found us. I was picking my way carefully down a slope, basket full, clutching tree branches for balance, calling out to Lily behind me to watch her step. "Don't move," his voice rang out. I looked up, delighted. I came to get you," he said. He lifted the heavy basket off my back with one hand and offered me his arm. "Hold on. Walk slowly." Without the weight, I felt like floating. I gripped his wrist and let him guide me down. We walked side by side on the road, talking and laughing. The village gossip Annie spotted us immediately and pulled Zhang Hongying aside. "Are educated youth Yi and educated youth Ji dating?" Hongyingjia smiled. "They're both single. Dating is perfectly normal." I told her beforehand, if anyone asked, just tell them the truth. We had nothing to hide. The news spread through Xinguang Brigade like wildfire. Some people sent blessings, some were sour, some were quietly heartbroken. We didn't care. At home, Ah Yen set down my basket in the kitchen, poured me hot water from the thermos, and handed me soap. "Wash your hands properly. I'll start the fire for dinner." I sat on my little stool, scrubbing my hands obediently. "Okay." He couldn't resist patting my head. "Good girl." Then he went around back to cook.